if I would create 2 videos for them. And this was through Nightingale Conant when they were the kings of the world in terms of video and audio reproduction. So I did 2 programs. One was called the 24 Keys to Close the Sale. And it became the best-selling video cassette, just a cassette, and eventually a CD in history. It's used all over the world. Once I had a man come into me and he applied for a job. He was the vice president of marketing for Marriott Resorts Corporation. They're the ones that sell timeshares. And he said that he had gone to Marriott to apply for a job in sales a few years, about 3 or 4 years before. And after a detailed interview, they agreed to hire him. And then, of course, he said, the question that I asked then is what is your training program? He said, we'll show you the training program. Here it is. And he turned and he handed him a cassette. He said, this is our training program. Well, this was a $1 billion division of Marriott, still is one of the biggest in the world. And he said, this is the training program? He said, yes. He said, well, for a company this size, that doesn't seem like a lot of training. He said, just look at it. Just look at it. So he went home and he watched it and it changed his life. And I've had stories like that come from my seminars and from people all over the world. They went from rags to riches. They went from basically struggling in sales to being millionaire salespeople, starting their own business, starting their own companies, and living in big houses on the hill. It is the most popular training program on sales in the world. Well, meanwhile, they asked me to do a second program on motivation. So I did a program called the 7 C's of Success. And what I did is I sat down and took my thousands of hours of reading and research and my own experience, and I wrote down the 7 C's, which is the letter C, and put it together in a program and licensed them to sell it. It became the most popular single video on personal success in the world. It sold and sold. They actually sold it or leased it or rented it. You could get it for a week for $95 or something like that. But everybody that they rented it to ended up buying the program and making it a part of their development. So that's what we'll talk about today. And the reason that the C's are so good is because it's easy to remember. And the first C is called clarity. And if you've ever been to my seminars, and of course you've heard me here, clarity is my favorite word. I really love it. People say, best friend forever, BFF. Well, my best word forever is clarity, because all the success in life comes from being absolutely clear about who you are and what you want and how to get it. And so you start off with who you are. And we were just doing a series of programs for YouTube earlier today. But one of the questions is, what is it you really want in life? What is it that you really want to be happy in? What I do in my seminars is I have people, after going through a goal-setting seminar, which we won't talk about today, but I have them write down a list of 10 goals that they would like to achieve in the next 12 months. And then I have them do a second exercise, which I would suggest to you, by the way, is imagine that you have a magic wand and that you could wave this magic wand and you could accomplish any one of those 10 goals that you wrote down, those one-year goals, and you could accomplish it within 24 hours. Which one goal, if you're guaranteed of success, would you select? What would be your number one goal? And you can do this. It's really amazing. You can do this with qualities. You can say, of all the qualities that I need to be successful, what is the one quality that is more important than any other? And that if I had a magic wand or a magic pill, I could take it and have that quality tomorrow. Which one would it be? And then you write it down as a goal. On the sheet of paper, I have people circle that and then transfer it to another sheet of paper and then make a plan to achieve it. But it all starts with clarity, clarity, clarity. And when you are clear about what you want, it becomes much, much easier for you to make plans and to work hard and put in long periods of time to achieve it. So you always start off by write it down, write it down, write it down. So you need to be clear. Now, in my 2-day MBA and my 2-day program, Business Model Reinvention, we always start off with 3 or 4 basic principles. The first basic principle in your business is who is my customer? Who is my customer? And what is my product? And how am I going to get my my product from my company to my customer? So let me correct that. You start off with, what is my product? What is it that I sell? And we always define our product in terms of the difference that it makes in a person's life. If a person were to use this product, what result or benefit or rewards would they achieve afterwards? And you've heard me talk about walking hand in hand with a 6-year-old child. I call this the Einstein method, because Einstein said if you can't explain your goal to a 6-year-old child, then you probably don't know it yourself. And your 6-year-old child should be able to go home and tell their parents what your goals are, and the parents should be able to understand it. So say, what is my product? And you should be able to explain the benefit that a person will get. For example, I have just purchased a piece of fitness equipment for my exercise room that fits over a treadmill. And because of all the operations I had last year, I lost my ability to walk. And it takes many months of exercise and physical therapy and what is called hydrotherapy, walking in warm water, and all kinds of exercises to build up the strength again. And it can take, if you're younger, it can take a few days or a week. If you're older, it can take a few months or even longer. So I bought this piece of equipment that fits like a bridge over your treadmill. And what you do is you strap in.
Congratulations, and thank you for clicking through to join us.
And lifts up your the weight of your body. It's called an unweighting equipment. So it lifts it up so that you only have a certain amount of your body weight on the treadmill, and then you turn it on and you walk on the treadmill. Very lightweight, but just enough to make your legs strong. And then as time passes and they become stronger, you de-weight even more. So more of your body weight is on the treadmill and you're walking. And eventually you get to the point where you can walk with more and more of your weight, and you can walk for longer periods of time until you reach the point where you can walk or even run fluently. Now, so therefore we say, well, what is the product? And I'm working with people who invented this product, and they say, well, the product, and they explain the piece of equipment as I just explained it to you. But really, the product is acceleration. The product is speed, is what you get when you buy this product, or in this case, rent the product, is you get to walk faster. You get to get back to normal physical fitness faster than you ever would in the absence of this particular piece of equipment. And people who value getting back to fitness will pay high prices for that. People who don't value it or consider it to be fun will not. So therefore I say that what you are selling is time. As you're saying to me is that normally you would take 6 months to reach the point where you could walk normally. In this case, you will take 2 months. And you'll be walking normally. You'll be back to a normal life. You'll be able to stride through airports and through airplanes and convention centers and so on. So it's always, in this case, it's speed, it's time, it's greater health, faster, sooner, more predictably. So what you have to do is think of is, what do I sell? What do I sell? And who is it? The next question is, who is it that I'm selling it to that wants or needs that product, that will pay me, and for whom the cost of the product is a much lower concern than the benefits or results I will get from the product. And then the third area where you need clarity is, how am I going to market the product? How am I going to sell the product, convince people that this is the product they should buy, as opposed to 1,000 other things that are saleable to them. Now, this is one of the most important things that you'll ever have. It's a pad of paper. I use yellow. I buy them by the packages. I have for decades now. And I learned that the most successful entrepreneurs consider this to be their most important tool for entrepreneurial success, for writing down your goals, for making your plans, for outlining your proposals, and so on. And so my rule is always think on paper. think on paper, think on paper. What I learned many years ago was that you really don't understand anything unless you can explain it on paper, unless you can write it down, write it down, write it down, because it forces you to be clear. You have to write it down so it's so clear that someone else can read it and understand with the same clarity that you have. So you'll find that almost all of the problems that people have in business, especially in communications, is lack of clarity. People will say something, but it's not clear to the person who must receive the message. As a result, the person does the wrong thing or doesn't do anything at all or is confused and so on. I watch, since I spend time at home now recuperating, I watch many of the television programs on the great military campaigns and leadership. And there is one that was really surprising to me. It was during World War II in the Pacific, when the Japanese were obviously on the verge of losing the war. They would never succeed. And they asked them to surrender. Please surrender and the war will be over. And they said, no, no, no. We're going to fight to the end. We're going to force the American forces to invade the Japanese mainland, and will cost several 100,000 deaths. And everybody was going to fight to the death. So they went back and forth, and then they dropped the atomic bomb on Nagasaki and on Hiroshima. And at that point, they just stopped cold. And they sent them another message, and they said, please surrender. Let's put an end to this. Well, the interpreter, the Japanese translator, got it wrong. Because what they said was, please surrender and let us end the war. And the interpreter got it wrong and wrote down, please continue. The word surrender and continue was confused. Please continue, or we will never surrender. Something like that. It was one word that was wrong that caused the Japanese high command to reject the Americans' attempt to make peace and continue the war, which led to the bombing at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. It's an interesting story, but it shows how one or two words that are incorrect or in the wrong places can lead to the most incredible difficulties or problems in the world. So everything is clarity, clarity, clarity. Einstein said, if you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old child, then you don't understand it yourself. So what are your strengths? What are you really good at? What do you love to do? What is your business, and what is the product or improvement that you sell to your customers? And how can you explain it to them? I'll give you a great story. I, many years ago, got into copywriting. I discovered copywriting. I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't graduated from high school. And usually it's college graduates with majors in English that go into copywriting. But I didn't have any of that. And I taught myself copywriting. And I read all of the books and stories about copywriting and how a piece of copy could transform the results of a particular product. And one of my favorite stories had to do with in the 1950s and 60s in the United States, the German company Heineken was attempting to get a foothold in the American market. But Heineken was a premium beer. And they never had premium beers before. They just had basically Budweiser and Labatt's and things like that. And they were trying to get them to buy it. And they said it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. And so they struggled and struggled and struggled. And finally, a copywriter for one of the big companies, a company named after David, name escapes me for a second. But anyway, they came up with a line that said this, is when you run out of champagne, order Heineken. I'm sorry. When you run out of champagne, order Heineken. And that totally transformed the marketing of the beer from competing against lower priced beers, being more expensive and being worth it, which is what everybody says, to competing against champagne, which was much more expensive. The sales of Heineken took off, and Heineken became the biggest and most profitable vendor of beer in the world, and still is today. because of the use of the words. Imagine that. And when you run out of champagne, order Heineken. Position it at a high place. So therefore, taking a lot of thought to the words that you use. And remember that you don't know your goals until you write them down. You don't know your marketing strategy until you write it down. You don't know anything until you can write it down clearly and have another person understand it. So that's number one, clarity. Clarity. I worked for a company once, and they said that 95% of their problems in this company, huge national company, was from lack of clarity in communications. Is people were not clear what other people were doing, and so on. So the second C is the C of competence. And one of the things that we know is that you are only as successful as you are competent or good in your field. And one of the starting points of success in life is to become very good at what you do. We've spoken before about the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says that 20% of people earn 80% of the money in any field. And 20% of companies earn 80% of the profits. It's always the top 20%. And I've given you some of the statistics, but basically, a person in the top 20% in any field, especially in entrepreneurship or in sales, earns an average of 16 times as much as the average of the people in the bottom 80%. Now, when I was coming up and I was selling, knocking on doors, I had a salesman, an older salesman who was a friend, and he was telling me, he said, have you heard about the 80-20 rule? And I was about 24, 25 at that time, and I was knocking on doors, and I was sleeping in a small rooming house. And I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, the top 20% of salespeople earn 80% of the income, the commissions in every field, including this one. We were in it together. And I never heard that before. And so I did something that changed my life. And I hope you do it as well. I said, well, then I'm going to be in the top 20%. And that changed my life forever. The decision to be in the top 20% was the turning point in my life, as it will be the turning point in your life. When you make a decision to be in the top 20%, then it's basically inevitable. You just simply do the things that you need to do to get into the top 20%. And you just keep on doing them. You set a goal to become excellent at what you do. You set a goal to be competent, to be recognized as one of the very best in your field. Now, here's the most amazing darn thing, is you and I have to work 8 or 10 hours a day. This goes from 8 to 6 is 10 hours. All successful people work 10 or maybe even 11 or 12 hours. Myself, I work about 10 or 11 hours a day. I usually quit work. I start work at about 8, and I quit work at about 7. And if I quit work any earlier than 7, I kind of feel guilty because I'm not working as much as I should. And here I am, I'm in my office, as you can see, and all of these books are books that I've written or that I've studied, and all the stuff that you see stacked up is workbooks from that I've designed and presented. And as my health, my mobility recovers, is I just think of getting back in here and working more, working those 10 or 11 hours. I remember Guy Kawasaki, who was his famous entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, was interviewing one of the top musical impresarios, a person who represented most of the big singers in Hollywood and in Las Vegas and New York, and had produced more bestsellers than any other musical impresario in American history. And so the interviewer, Guy Kawasaki, was asking him, his name was David Foster, got it, David Foster, was asking him, and he said, you must be very proud of yourself to having produced more than 100 best-selling hits in the American hit parade. And he said, well, yes, I am. He said, but you must remember, I produced 1,000 top records, and I thought all of them were going to be hits. And only 100 were hits. Now, what he was basically saying was quite interesting, is that his failure rate was 90%. 90% of the songs that they produce in the finest studios in America and even in the world, in London, 90% did not become bestsellers, only 1 in 10. And I listened to that on the way to the airport. And I was really surprised at the statistics. And what it said is that if you win 1 out of 10 times, you'll be one of the most successful people in the business. So I applied this to my sales, and I applied it to my marketing, I applied it to my advertising, and so on. And I was giving a seminar to about 1,000 people that worked with a huge multinational company. And I said, if I could wave a magic wand, then I could give you a guarantee that if you were successful in 1 out of 10 new customers, but it was guaranteed. That means that if you saw 10 customers, 9 would reject you and say no, but the 10th would buy. If that were the case, what would you do? And I just let them sit with the question. Huge convention center in Nashville. And one by one, they started raising their hand. I'd make more calls. I'd call in more people. I'd try more things. I'd make more phone calls. I'd make more personal visits. I would work really hard to get through the first 9 every day so I could get to the one that bought. And I said, exactly right. And this is what successful people have found, is that maybe later in your career, you'll have a really high success rate, but early in your career, you're going to fail over and over and over again. And so you have to just keep working to get better and better and better, and until finally you reach the point where you're failing a lot, but you're succeeding a lot. So the most successful people are the ones who fail the most and fail over and over again. They get up earlier in the morning, as I did, and they start working earlier, as I did, and they work longer hours, and they don't take long lunches or coffee breaks. And they just keep on hitting it over and over again to talk to more customers, see more customers, do more things that are aimed at generating sales. And they work as long as there are customers available to be seen. And one of the rules I learned from one of my sales managers when I was young was that you should never be in the office when there are customers still out there available to be seen. And one of the things I learned is that many customers start early, especially your high influence customers. They get into work at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And so what I would do, and this was quite revolutionary for me, is when you call to make an appointment, very often they'll say, I'm sorry, I'm too busy, I can't see you. And I said, well, how early do you come in the morning? And there'd always be a pause. And it was astonishing at how many of them came in at 6 or 6:30 or 7 o'clock. I said, if I meet you in your office at 7 o'clock, can we talk? And I was astonished how many appointments I got. Then I asked, how late do you work? And I found that the top people in these companies work until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I said, if I come in at that time, will you see me? And they said, yes. So, of course, I worked very hard during the day, but it was astonishing how much business I did. I remember calling this guy to make an appointment. I still remember. His name was Hugh, and he was the vice president of a large company. And I called him. He said, I don't have time to see people during the day. I said, remembering this, I said, well, what time do you come to work? He said, I come to work at 6 o'clock. He said, if you can be here at 6 o'clock, I'll see you. And I said, okay. And this was in the winter time up in Canada. And I said, okay, I'll be there at 6 o'clock. He said, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? I said, yeah, I'll be there. So I got up at 5 o'clock and I got dressed and I drove across town. And I still remember it was a blizzard. The snow was blowing and the wind was blowing. It was cold as death. The streets were empty. And I got to the industrial complex where his offices were, and it was shut down completely. There were a couple of lights in the parking lot, and there were no cars, nothing, empty. And I drove up and I parked my car at 6:45 or 5:45, and I was waiting. I never forgot this. About 28 years old. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and at 2 minutes to 6, his car pulled up. And he parked on the other side of the parking lot, and he got out and he walked in. And I got out and I walked over and I knocked on the door, and he was waiting. He said, I didn't think you'd make it. He said, nobody else has ever made it. Nobody else has ever come at 6 o'clock to see me. And we did business together, enormous amount of business, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business and income for the next 2 years. And we were friends probably up to this day, because I was willing to get up earlier and go and see them earlier. So competence is really important. You have to become very, very good at what you do. You have to make a decision. I'm going to be in the top 20%. And then you have to do everything possible to get into the top 20% and never stop. There are people who don't learn this until their 60s or 70s. And it's very hard for you to get up that early and to hit it all day long when you're older. The time to do it is when you're younger. I read a very interesting article recently with regard to clarity, goals, knowing what your goals are, and competence, becoming good at what you do. And what it said is that you must get over this notion of work-life balance. Work-life balance is not for successful people. Work-life balance is for people who are employees and intend to remain as employees for the rest of their lives. The fact is, in a competitive world, you're going to have to work harder than anyone else to be successful. You're going to have to put it in. You have to start earlier and work harder and stay later. So stop reading articles and fantasizing about work-life balance. There's only going to be one thing. It's going to be work, work, work. Because that's what it takes. You learn how to become good, competent, and then you apply your knowledge, your education, and you get it better and better and better. Now, here's the most amazing thing. The people who are in the top 20% are earning 16 times the average of people who aren't. People in the top 10% are earning about 32 times the average of people who aren't. People in the top 5% are earning 40 times the average of people down below them. Now, what difference would it make in your life if you were earning 10 or 20 or 30 times more than the average person in your field? And the answer is it would be extraordinary. Well, those are the people who live in the big houses and drive the big cars. And eventually, they don't worry about work-life balance when they start off. Eventually, what they do is they become so good at what they're doing that they earn more and more, and they get paid more and more for their work. They make more sales faster and easier. When I started selling, I found I was really a poor salesperson. I was making one or two sales a week. When I got really, really good and really good at prospecting, I was taking 1 or 2 sales a day and then 4 or 5 sales a day. And soon I was making more sales in a day than I would make in a week or a month in the past. And the amount of money that I was making working the same number of hours. And this is the most amazing thing, is between now and when you retire, you're going to have to work the same length of time, same number of days, same number of hours, same number of minutes. The only difference is, are you going to be one of the highest paid people in your field, or are you just going to be struggling and worrying about money and as they say, reading the right-hand column of the menu to decide how hungry you are when you go out to work and when you go out to eat? So the third C that we can talk about, and by the way, I've written books and articles and programs on each of these, is the C of constraints. And this is a subject that I stumbled into many years ago, and it is a life changer. Actually, you're just never the same afterwards. And what it basically said is that between where you are now and where you want to be in the future, there is a constraint. There is something that holds you back, or that sets the speed of how quickly you achieve your goal. And your job is to identify that constraint, that choke point, they call it. The limiting factor is what they call it. It's a big deal. It's taught in the universities now. And find out what it is that holds you back from achieving any goal that you want to achieve, and then find a way, focus single-mindedly like a laser beam on alleviating that choke point. So for example, when I work with salespeople, either with a company with a large number of salespeople or with an audience, I'll say, how much do you want to earn in the coming year? And let's set a goal to increase your income by 100%, to double your income in the next 12 months. Would that be a good goal? I sometimes say, would that be a good goal for us today? If I could show you how to double your income, would that be a good use of your time? And we laugh, and everybody says, yes, that'd be great, wonderful, and they nudge each other and so on. And so that's our goal. So that's clarity. And I tell them as we come back, this is what you're going to have to do to double your income in the next 12 months or sooner. I said, so the next question you ask with regard to constraints is what sets the speed at which you double your income. What determines how quickly you double your income? And it can be many things, by the way. Just like, for instance, a new advertising line, like when you run out of champagne, order Heineken. It's just the advertising that changes the perception of the customer, that transforms and makes Heineken. It was just actually the head of Heineken Breweries was kidnapped a couple of years ago, and there's a huge scandal and millions of dollars were paid and everything else because he's one of the richest men in the history of the world because of that little line. So anyway, so you say, what determines how quickly you double your income? And we go through it. We say there's 7 parts, and we'll talk about this. There's 7 parts in the sales process. The first part is prospecting, which is finding qualified people to talk to and not spending time with unqualified people, which are people who do not want, do not need, and cannot afford and cannot use your product. Great subject. And then the second is establishing rapport and trust with them so that they know you and they like you and that they're open to being influenced by you and buying and using your product. And the third part is presenting and showing that your product or service, all things considered, is superior to that of any competitor and superior to doing nothing at all. And then you're answering objections, and then you're closing the sale, and then you're getting resales. Peter Drucker says the number 1 goal of business is to make a sale. This number 2 goal is to sell again to a satisfied customer. And what I say is the number 3 goal is for that customer, that happy customer, to recommend you to someone else. So the 3 keys are make a sale, make a second sale, and then get a referral from your customer. And if you do that, then you hit the 7 keys, and your sales will go through the roof like a volcano exploding. So you keep asking, in your business, what determines how fast you double your income? And you should always have that as a goal, by the way, doubling your income. It doesn't mean that you will achieve it or that you'll achieve it quickly, but it's eminently attainable if you're clear about it. I earned X number of dollars last year, and what I say is use the amount that you wrote down on your income tax form, because that's the most honest number. You can't talk about anything else. On my income tax form, this is what I wrote down. So that's your goal for the year, is to earn twice as much. And the next question is, what is the number 1 factor that determines the speed at which I double my income? And you can make a list of all the factors. We just talked about some of them. If you're in sales, all the factors, and then you pick them out. And you say, well, this would be the number 1. If I could deal with this, and just like the example I used talking to my friends in MLM, is the number of people you talk to. Because you don't know their background, you don't know their history, you don't know how much money they have or where they're coming from. So what you have to do is you have to just get through as many people as possible. In fact, one of the most important areas of selling that I learned was the amount of time you spend with each prospect. And a study that I read recently said that really good salespeople have got it down to an average of 17 minutes. You talk to a person who's a prospect who will talk to you, and it should not take you more than 17 minutes of your life to determine whether or not this person can buy. You should not be calling around people over and over and going back and taking them out for lunch and spending a couple of hours with them and giving your presentation and so on. You should be able to sort them out quickly by asking questions. I don't know if you've ever heard of what they call chick sorters. Well, in Japan, they have a worker who works in the chicken processing plants where they have thousands of chicks that are born, and the sorter has to sort out the male chicks from the female chicks. And they all come down this row. They all channel down this little pulley, this little processing line. And these people have the ability to stand there and to feel the chicken and determine whether or not this chicken is a male or a female. And so they sort them. They sort them, male, female, male, female, male. And that's what they do all day long. And it's an incredible ability to be able to hold this little chick who is just born and to determine some sense that they have that this is male, this is female. And the males are grown to become food for the stores, and the females are grown to produce more eggs. So Well, in a way, I always thought about that and said, that's what you have to do, is you have to be like a chicken sorter when you talk to new prospects, is you can't spend half of your life. And I didn't realize that. I thought what you did is you kept coming back and making friends and seeing them again and giving them more information. And like when a person says, can you put together a proposal for me? That means, no, I'm not going to buy. I'm never going to buy. I'm wasting your time, and I'm just trying to be polite about it. When they say, let me think it over, it means I will never buy anything from you ever in my entire life. That's what they mean. It's customer courtesy. They don't want to hurt your feelings by telling you that they're not interested for whatever reason it happens to be. Well, you should be able to sort them out quickly, because the only thing you have is your time, and what you have to do is see more people. Is you cannot determine how good these are as prospects. Just see more people. And not in every case, but in some cases. So those are the 3 C's that you start off with. And the first C is clarity. Be absolutely clear about what product you're offering in terms of the benefit that it achieves for your customer. Be absolutely clear about who you are and what you want in life. Another really important point, we just did a series of videos for our YouTube, is that you must enjoy your work. You must never do work that you don't enjoy. And there's one proviso on that, is when you start off with a new job, when you start off using new skills, you won't be good at them yet. And as a result, you won't enjoy them. And many people don't realize that they're actually cut out for this field. I mean, they have the ability to become excellent in this field, but not at the beginning. And so they quit too soon. And I learned that as a young man too, is that don't pass judgment early in your career, is put your whole heart into it and keep at it until you become good at it. And when you become good at it and you can get good results, then you ask, do I enjoy this work? I'll give you an example. I got into real estate development many years ago, maybe 40, maybe 50 years ago, long time. Jeez. Anyway, I got into real estate development, and the first development I ever did was a shopping center, $3 million shopping center. And I had to learn everything that there was about real estate development. I went to the library and I checked out and read from cover to cover 21 books on real estate development written by people who had made a fortune in real estate development. And I applied them, and I made countless mistakes. But I finally working night and day, reading, studying, working, going around in ever widening circles around the large city I lived in, I finally, about 25 miles outside of town, found a small town outside the city, found a small town. And in that town, there was a piece of property that, according to the books, was an ideal piece of property to develop for a shopping center. And it took me 6-7 months to put the deal together, and then more time to find and raise the funds, and I had no money at all. And people say, how could you possibly build a $3 million shopping center? You had no money. I said, well, I read the books, because every problem you'll ever have, somebody's already solved. And they've written it down because they're so proud of themselves, they wrote it down. So I read and wrote it down. And I put together and raised the money. It was just amazing. And I opened that shopping center. From the time I found the property, 12 months later, I opened it fully leased. It was fully leased with AAA tenants. If you know anything about AAA tenants, these are the big companies, and they always pay their rents, and mortgage companies will give you any amount of money that you want if you have a AAA tenant. And after that, over time, I developed maybe $300 million worth of real estate. I developed office buildings. I developed trailer parks. I developed industrial centers. I developed several residential subdivisions and so on. And then I took a look at it, and I realized I don't enjoy real estate development. People hired me and paid me really wonderful money to develop their real estate because I was really good at it, but I didn't like it. And at that point, I began to think, and what is it that I really, really like? And I really like learning neat stuff and then sharing it with other people like yourself. That's what I really like. That's what, excites me. And so the more I learned and the more I shared it, and the better I got at sharing it so that other people could use it, the happier I was. And so that's why we are all here today, for that matter. Okay, so the fourth C is creativity. So now you've identified the one or two major factors that are holding you back from achieving your most important goal, which for our use today is doubling your income. So what is the constraint? What is the choke point that's holding you back from doubling your income? And then what you do is you say, and you take a piece of paper, our friend here, this is quite phenomenal. I'm going to give you an exercise I learned from Earl Nightingale many, many years ago, and it made me rich. And I've had people all over the world come up to me and tell me it made them rich. It made them rich. It made them rich. And they said that incredible exercise, it made them rich. And what is it? What it's called is the 20 idea method. And if you've followed my stuff for any period of time, you've probably heard me explain this. And what I do is we say you take your goal or your problem and you write it at the top of the page clearly. So you say your goal is to double your income. You say, what are all the things that I can do to double my income? Or how can I double? It's even better to start off with the question, how? How can I double my income in the next 12 months? Colon. And the words that follow the colon are the most important words, some of the most important words in your life. So you write it down, you say, one is I could start earlier and work 2 extra productive hours each day. Okay. 2 is I could do research on prospective customers before I called on them and spent a lot of time. 3, I could improve my appearance. I had a gentleman came to my seminar once. He was a young guy, about 28 years old, and he was wearing a beard. And this is back in the 80s and 90s. He was wearing a beard and long hair. And so he came to my seminar and he said, I work really, really hard. I start earlier, I work hard. I do all the things that you teach in your seminar, but I'm just not seeming to be successful. And he was in real estate sales, residential real estate. And I said, well, I will tell you a possible reason, but you're not going to like it. I said, it's facial hair. And he said, well, what does that have to do with anything? I said, well, there's enormous research that shows that if you wear facial hair, you are considered to be less trustworthy than a person who is clean shaven. That's why there are very few people in elected office anywhere with facial hair, very few males. Why? It's because they're considered to not be as trustworthy as a person without facial hair. And some of the research is quite interesting. He was very offended. They always are. Everybody's always offended. I said, so what happens when you wear a beard, according to interviewees, the people they've interviewed, they say you are wearing the equivalent to the old Western mask, where the stagecoach robbers would wear a mask and they would rob the stagecoach. So what you're doing is wearing a beard is you're covering your face so that people cannot see you clearly because you have something to hide. And maybe it's because you're going to rob them, right? And you say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, it doesn't matter. It's based on interviewing thousands of people. And then they say, well, what about a small goatee, a small beard? Well, they say, then that means that you're indecisive because you can't make a decision whether to have a whole beard or no beard. So you take something down the center and you're indecisive. Well, what about a mustache? Well, a mustache means that you're wishy-washy because you can't decide should you have full hair or half hair or anything else. And so what I would suggest that you do is just put it up on Google and say, facial hair research. I will say this, that my son, who is now a professional speaker, wears a beard, not a bushy beard, but wears a beard. And today, the attitudes toward facial hair in men are very different from when I started off. But I'm old school, so I pass that along. But just something to look at and something to know about. Anyway, and this is not the only case, I got he was a bit offended, but he thanked me for my input, and he went home. And he said, first thing he did was he shaved his beard off completely and got his hair cut. He said his sales exploded. He was seeing the same people offering the same listed homes in the same neighborhoods. His sales exploded. They went up over the next year. He wrote to me, saying up something like 8 or 9 times. He said he never made so much money in his life. And I've had other people, I can tell you story after story after story, person, place, event, where people just changed their physical appearance, and in this case, facial hair, and their sales exploded, selling the same product at the same price to the same people under the same conditions. So it's a little thing you have to ask yourself, keep writing down, maybe I should do this. I mean, and remember, there's 4 ways that you achieve any goal in business. And I'll say them over and over. I developed them when I was doing coaching programs. Is you do more of some things, and the things you do more of are the things that are working really well. You do less of other things, and the things that you do less of are things that are not working particularly well. And you would say that this is an obvious answer, but it's not, because a lot of people spend a lot of time doing things that aren't working. They hang around the office, they drink coffee, they read the newspaper, they check their email, they go out for lunch with their buds, they go drinking at 5 o'clock and so on. These things aren't working. If they're not working, stop doing them. Now, the other 2 things are you can start doing something completely new and different. And remember, the biggest enemy of business success, one of the biggest enemies is the comfort zone. We become comfortable doing things that aren't working, but we just insist on keeping on doing them, thinking that if I keep on doing them, at a certain point, they will start working. And the 4th way that you can change your business life is you can do something, you can discontinue something completely. You just discontinue it completely because it's not working. And you have this hope that if you keep at it, it will work. No, if it's not working, stop doing it. Peter Drucker, I love Drucker's one-liners. He said, try once, try twice, try something else. Try it once, try it twice, then try something else. If it's not working, try something else. All successful people are creative. They're always looking for faster, better, cheaper, easier, newer ways to do things. If it doesn't work, the only question is, does it work? Is it working? If it's not working, stop doing it, start doing something else. The 5th C is concentration. And basically that has to do with time management. You'll find that all successful people have developed the ability to focus on one thing at a time. Now, you only have a certain number of minutes and hours each day, and each of these minutes and hours are not the same. Some of them are very valuable. Some of the things that you do have very high payoff. They can bring you tremendous rewards. Learning a skill. I was just talking to one of my video people, and he says he's learning German. And can I give him any advice? I speak German, and I give seminars in German. And I had learned German when I was traveling back when I was in my 20s, and back in my 40s, I was booked to speak in German, and I had a translator. And at the end of the conference, we had a get-together, a reception, and they asked me to give a small talk to all the top executives, about 20 or 30 top executives. And I said, well, let me see if I can do this without a translator. So I got up and I spoke for 20 minutes in German, just not good German, but basically based on my memory. And my client, Frank, said, you know, Brian, if you could speak German, we could build $1 million business around you here in Germany. And I said, okay, I'll learn to speak German fluently. And I did. It took me several years, but each year my income increased. Eventually I was doing 15 talks a year at an average of about $25,000, $30,000 a talk in Germany alone. And then I got started being booked in all the countries around Germany because people travel and they go to seminars in other countries, especially seminars given by English-speaking people, because everybody in Scandinavia can understand them. Many of the business people in other countries. Anyway, it was worth $1 million, maybe $2 million, maybe $3 million in revenues over the rest of my career. And I'm still booked to speak in Germany, and I'm still popular. And I received the first major award for the top motivational speaker in Germany. And it's big. It's one of those great golf tournament trophies that you win. Well, the point was that that's one skill. You could learn one additional skill. And I would say learn the skill of time management so that you're really, really good at focusing and working only on the most important things that you do and concentrate single-mindedly. What I found in my studies of time management, and as you know, I'm the best-selling time management author in the world in 46 languages now, is that all of success in life is task completion, task completion, task completion. It's not starting the job and working at the job and getting back to the job and finishing the job later on in the week or next week. It's finishing the job, getting the job done so it's finished, complete, satisfactorily, in an excellent fashion. And the wonderful thing about task completion is task completion makes you a fortune. Eventually, you develop a habit of starting and completing tasks. And if tasks are ordered at a scale of value, then you start and complete your most valuable tasks. So you get better and better doing the most valuable and highest paid things that you do. And every time you complete a task, you feel like a winner. You feel excellent. You feel happy. It gives you a burst of endorphins in your brain, which cause you to actually sparkle. So you could hardly look forward. You look forward every day to getting into work and starting on your most important task and staying at it. And people say, "Well, come on, now you finished your own." No, no, no. I want to stay. I want to get this done. I almost got this done. Now I'm going to stay the extra time. And I never end a day without completing a task. My wife comes in and she says, "Dinner's ready." And let's say it's 10 minutes to 7. I say, so I go over my task list. Here's my task list. I go over my task list and I find a 10-minute task. And I say, okay, I'm going to complete this task before dinner. So I always end the day finishing a task, which gives you a surge of endorphins, a surge of dopamine, a surge of well-being that motivates you to start and finish important tasks tomorrow. So that's really important. There are no successful people who cannot concentrate and complete a task. Now, the sixth C, and our time is going really, really well here. The sixth C is courage. And courage means that you have the courage to start something with no guarantee of success. The courage to take action with no guarantee of success. The courage to knock on the door, to make the phone call, to invest in starting a business, in anything. To have the courage to take action with no guarantee is the mark of the leader. It's the mark of the great man or woman, because there are no guarantees in life. There's only one guarantee, and it's what I call the Wayne Gretzky guarantee, the great hockey player. And what he said is, you miss every shot you don't take. You miss every shot you don't take. So there's only one guarantee in life: is you don't take a shot, you will miss the shot, you lose. So therefore, what you do is you take every shot that you possibly can. And Harvard has now been doing some work, which I've been following up on. I think it's really neat work. And it's called Learning from Failure. And it's aimed at the Fortune 500. And it's how you can extract the very most valuable lessons for the future from the failures that you have inevitably every day, every week, every month. Products don't work, advertising campaigns don't work, investments don't work, and so on. And that philosophy of learning from failure is the philosophy of a truly superior person. Because if you learn from failure, then you're not going to make as big a failure next time. You're going to cut your losses early in the game. You're going to recognize when you're on the wrong course and stop it. You're going to extract all the value that you can from each failure. So you find that the way to succeed is to fail over and over again and learn from each one. Now, how do you do it? How do you learn from each failure? Your friend. The spiral, the yellow legal pad is what you do is write down and say, what did I learn from this mistake? And I have been doing this for decades in real estate development and starting and building businesses and so on, is when it didn't work out and the hurt and the anguish and lost money and everything was unavoidable, I sit down and I say, what did I learn from this mistake? And I aim for 20 answers. I aim for 20. Force yourself, squeeze, push for 20 answers. Don't let yourself off the hook with one or two little cheap answers. Go for the big answers. And the big answers, the last 5 are, my ego got in the way. It's very hard to admit that the reason you made this mistake is you knew a long time ago that you shouldn't be in here. You knew a long time ago you should have cut your losses and run, but you didn't because of your ego. And that's the biggest lesson of all. But anyway, write down 20 answers and be very honest with yourself and with your strengths and weaknesses. It's the only way that you can learn to be a success. The way we learn to succeed is by failing and extracting every lesson possible. And finally, the 7th C is commitment. And commitment is really important. It means that you put your whole heart into your work. You don't work at half speed. You don't work with your fingertips. You decide you're going to do this, and you put your whole heart into it. And you'll find that I've been happily married now as of Sunday for 40 years. Very happily married. And I've got 4 wonderful children. And 3 of them are happily married. and have great relationships with children and so on. And the reason, at least part of the reason, was because when I decided to marry Barbara, and she decided to marry me, I guess, I was totally committed. It was absolutely 100%. There was no 99%. There was no daylight, as they say now. It was totally committed. And the same with the career. Is, again, Drucker says it, people take a job, but they have sort of one foot in the water. They're not 100% there. They're going to try it out. They're going to see if it works, or I'll stay at this job for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, and so on, and see how it works out, and so on. No, if you're going to do something, put your whole heart into it. If you're going to start a new business or get into a new business, put your whole heart into doing this job the very best that you possibly can for as many hours as it takes. And don't hold back. Just commit to everything. And you'll find that weak people are always keeping the back door open in case they want to get out, if they want to flee. Strong people go 100%, put their whole heart into it. And if it doesn't work, it's not that it didn't work because you didn't put your whole heart into it. You put your whole heart, it didn't work, okay, stuff doesn't work. There's no need to make excuses, because the way that we learn to succeed is by failing. So those are the 7 C's. The first of all is clarity. And clarity, you only know what you want when you write it down and make a plan. Write it down, make a plan, organize the plan in terms of importance, and start with number 1. And number 2 is competence. Is you have to be good at what you do, and you have to be continually getting better. You'll see behind me the books. If you look at my home, you'll find that my home is full of bookshelves. And all of these bookshelves that you can see behind me are double stacked. There's 2 stacks of books. And I've read almost every one of these books, and many of them multiple times. And I keep buying books. It's terrible. They say that human beings are creatures who buy more books than they'll ever have time to read. And so we buy books. And I get so many good advertisements from Amazon and from other companies. And, I'm so weak. My knees go weak when I see a good book. And I say, well, I'll buy just one more. I'll buy just one more. And then I'm not going to buy any more until I've read at least one of the books that I have. So the books start to stack up. They start to stack up. Anyway, so reading, devote yourself to becoming the best at what you do. There's nobody who can stop you from becoming absolutely excellent in your field, except for one person. And whenever I say this to an audience, everybody in the audience goes, and they know that. There's nobody stopping. There's no barrier. There's no wall. There's no law that says that you can't become excellent. There's nothing except decision. And in decision making, creativity. As you think creatively, what can I do? What can I do more? What can I do less of? What can I start doing? What can I stop doing? And so on. And creativity is stimulated by taking in more information, learning more stuff. The more you learn, sometimes one observation in one book or one article can transform your life. It's happened to me more times than I can count in my life, that I've been reading in a business book or a business magazine, or attended a seminar, or listening to a speaker, and they came up with a one-liner that was, wow, oh my. And you add that to everything else you're doing, and you have a whole different perspective. I was talking to a very successful businessman recently, and we were talking about the discovery of penicillin. And discovery of penicillin took place in the 30s, when people were dying from disease, from germs. And this chemist, researcher, went for lunch. And then he put out some, not penicillin, what did he put out some diseased cells on an agar dish. And he went out for lunch, and he came back, and something had floated across the laboratory and fallen on the agar dish, and all of the bacteria was dead. All the bacteria was dead. And the assistant said, well, throw it out, start again. He said, no, wait. Wait, he said, that's very strong bacteria. And it's all dead. It died in an hour. What happened? And what they found was that experimenters were working on the other side of the laboratory, and they were working on something that threw off a I forget the word for it, but it flew off and it flittered through the laboratory, and it landed there. And it turned out to be the penicillin bacillus. And what he did is he took it and he experimented with it. His name was Sir Alexander Fleming. He went down as one of the most famous and important chemists, researchers, Nobel Prizes, knighthood, millions of dollars. And he came up with it in the middle of the 30s. And they reckoned that the invention of penicillin saved millions of lives in World War II. Because before, if a person had an illness, they would die, just die terribly. And then with the penicillin, it was just an astonishing story. You should pull up Google or Wikipedia and just read Sir Alexander Fleming, just shaking my head. And he came from a farm family in Scotland. And the story of his life was unbelievable. But just one little look and saying, what is the success here? The killing of the cells, as opposed to the failure of the experiment. Anyway, the last 2 C's are courage, is to have the courage and the willingness to take a chance with no guarantee of success. And finally, commitment. Just put your whole heart into what you do. And if you put your whole heart into what you do and you keep doing that over and over again, nothing will stop you. If you never quit, once you get started, nothing will stop you. Hello. Hello.
Hi. How are you, Brian?
Wonderful. Nice to see you again.
Oh, I'm so blessed. I get to be with you again. And I was just listening to all of your wisdom, and I feel like I'm sparkling. You were talking about you want to be sparkling when you're starting your day. Well, I get to sparkle because I get to be here with you.
Well, thank you. Annie, we seem to have two sound streams clashing here. I'm speaking. I heard Allison twice. I don't want to hear you twice.
You're on mute, Lanny.
All right.
I guess hitting the unmute button is effective at talking. Is what you're saying? Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, if it's okay with you guys, I just want to acknowledge all the people that are here live. Can I just call some people out? Al Nura on Facebook, welcome. Inse on Facebook, welcome. Clavs on YouTube says, wow, you are live with a muscle thing. And then let's get Brian.
For being here.
We lost Brian. Brian will be back, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, he's coming back. Let's look at Instagram. Student Millionaire says, so true. Karina says, cool. Gosh, there's so many comments on Instagram. I can hardly get to them all. Back to basics idea method. Anyway, great to have you here. We're going to start with Q&A. So if you have questions for Brian and Allison, that'd be amazing. We're going to bring Brian back on the stage. Brian's back. Welcome, Brian. Brian, we're going to do some questions from the online crew here. And Luis Castillo on Instagram. Yes, it is live, because I wouldn't know your name if it wasn't live. I wouldn't know that you asked that question. So yeah, it's live. Anyway, Brian, how you doing today?
I'm just terrific. Thank you very much. I'm working on re-editing. Lanny, there's two voices overlapping each other.
I think you have your music on in the background, which is echoing back to you. Is there any chance you can turn your music off?
Turn it off completely, but I don't hear that. What I hear is my own voice twice.
Oh, you're echoing? Oh, there's an extra U in here. Let me see if I can kick the extra U.
Please.
Hang on.
We could get two Brians.
Yeah, we could not. Okay, so Brian, I kicked the extra. I kicked the extra Brian Tracy that was on here, and then let me get to this. There's a good question. Can we roll with a quick question?
Sure.
Gallum on YouTube is asking, I have money to start a business, but how to overcome the terrifying fear? I'd love to hear from both of you. Brian, why don't you go first, and Allison, we'll get your take too.
Okay, well, fear is
quite normal. It's common. It's the number one reaction to anything new or different. And the way that you alleviate fear is by doing your homework. Many people who want to start a business, even a small business, will spend 6 months doing research. They'll look at other people in the same business and talk to them and ask them what they learned. By the way, if you can find a mentor, somebody who is in your same business, and go say, I'll work for you for free if you'll tell me how this business works. And it's quite amazing. So you give your time and not your finances, not your life, and invest your time and work for free. And you can learn so much. Countless people that I've spoken to said, if I had just worked in that business for a little while before I invested my money, it have changed my life completely. It doesn't mean that you will fail. It just means that you will succeed faster if you do your homework. So the more you learn about how the business works, and the more you accomplish goals for somebody who's already in the business, you agree to make sales, you agree to develop customers, you agree to do something. The more you do this, the more your fear disappears. It evaporates. You say, there's nothing to be afraid of here. The one word that holds so many people back. Remember, 80% of people work for wages all their lives. The average person who retires at 65 has a net worth, aside from Social Security, of $41,000. But the top 20% of people retire wealthy. And it's absolutely amazing how many people with home, savings, investment, retirement have more than $1 million by the age of 55 or 60. And that's your goal. Your goal is to set $1 million as your first major goal for retirement, and then set another $1 million and another $1 million. We explain this and how to achieve this in other places. But the main thing is you overcome your fear by facing the word no. It's like when you make sales, your greatest fear is the person will say no, and you'll be disappointed. You'll have wasted your time and your energy and so on. Once you get over the fear of the word no, and virtually all successful people just laugh at the word no. When you get over the fear of the word no, then basically you become unleashed. Your power, your strength, your energy, your enthusiasm is unleashed because you're not afraid of the word no. So the idea, go out and get as many no's as possible, and it'll just wear down the fear, and you'll reach the point where you're not afraid of anything. And that's
I love that.
Love that, Brian. Thank you. Allison.
Yeah, you inspired me, Brian. Wow. Yes. I mean, fear is normal. It's a normal human emotion. We all have it.
Yes.
And I'm sure you know this, that for fear, false evidence appearing real. And we make it so much bigger in our head than
Yes.
it actually is. And I agree with you, Brian. You need to really surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up, people that have been there and done it, that are thinking that way. Because if you're around people that are saying, I don't know if this is going to work, and don't get ahead of yourself. If you have those self-doubts, then you might plug into that and it's going to throw you off your course. And so it's super important to stay laser focused, like you talk about where you're going, and develop that big picture vision and just keep walking towards it every single day, and don't let anyone tell you it can't be done.
Right. I remember a friend of mine told me that when he went into his sales company, people sat around and drank coffee and talked and everything else, and they avoided picking up the phone. They avoided making an appointment. So what he did is he would get himself a cup of coffee, and he would sit down, and he would give himself a sip of coffee every time he made a call. And he would call lists of people and so on. And so every time he made a call and connected with a prospect, who said yes, no, maybe, and so on. And he'd hang up the phone and he'd give himself a sip of coffee. But the coffee's getting cold. So he got more focused on drinking the coffee when it was hot. He couldn't care less about the people he was speaking to. It became a game to him. How many calls could he make with one cup of coffee? And within
Yeah, I love that.
a period of time, he was the top salesman in the office. He had more appointments with more prospects. He couldn't wait every morning to get on the phone with people. He actually trained his brain like a dog salivates when it sees meat or it smells a food that it likes. Well, he trained his brain to look forward to making calls on people who mostly were going to say no. And after that, he became a big success. And it's happened with you, Allison, I know, because you're so cheerful. You're very positive about your business. That means you've passed the point where you're afraid. There's no mental blocks. Lanny's the same person. What happens is you have repeatedly done the things that most people are afraid to do. And as a result, you have no fear. I remember there's a store, a chain, of which there's a branch in San Diego, and it's called No Fear, and it has T-shirts and symbols and jackets and everything else. Every one of them has No Fear written on it. No fear. No.
Yes.
I love it.
I
love
know.
it.
I love that brand too. And, in my first business, and I was a single mom at the time, and I had an ad agency, and this was before the internet. So the only way to get customers was to call on the phone, cold calling, and going door to door. And so that is what I did. And, I was back then nervous and shy and all that stuff. I had the phone book, and I used to say, okay, you are not getting up from this chair until you make 20 phone calls. And I would just play this game with myself, and I would open the phone book to whatever would land. And I literally would do this. So sometimes it was hospitals, sometimes it was construction companies, whatever, I opened to. And my intention with the phone call was that I was just going to get an appointment. I wasn't trying to make a sale. The sale was to be able to book an appointment, to be able to go in and sit with them and get, help them to do their marketing at the time. And from that, from being consistent and just playing that game with myself and not letting myself get up, I got some of my biggest clients that ended up making us millions of dollars. And that was just from picking up the phone and having this conversation with people.
Yes, and starting off, that's really great. I used to do the same thing, and my goal was to sell 20 minutes. That's all I wanted was 20 minutes, not 30 minutes or not 10 minutes. Give me 20 minutes of your time to see if I can't help you achieve this particular goal. And if they said no, then you said, well, thank you very much for your time. If you would like some information, here's some information, and move on. Most people, one of my favorite expressions was some will, some won't. So what? Next.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brian,
Exactly.
I was mouthing that because psychology of selling changed my life. As you were saying that, I knew it by heart from repeatedly listening to that. Oh, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? It was really funny because I had a flashback moment. Can I just add one thing? I think in today's day and age, when everybody's texting and everybody's DMing and all this stuff, a phone call stands out. Like I called somebody this morning. His name is John. I said, John, I'm going old school. I'm calling you. And it was like, who calls anymore? I think it's a powerful thing to do just because it stands out. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you call, what happens is there is a decision that's made. When you're sending an email or a text, people can sit on that. But when you have the person on the phone, you'll get either a yes or a no. There's going to be a next step, or there's not going to be a next step. And
Right.
so then you're able to, move forward or move on.
Larry is Lanny. I'm sorry, Lanny is an ex-copywriter. You never become an ex-copywriter. I still study copy every day. I look at it, I read it, I get newsletters on it. And in copy, what you have to do is get the person's attention immediately, and you do that with a benefit of some kind. And people are busy, so what you say is, "My name is Brian Tracy." Make it really clear what your name is. Um, is this, and then ask the person's name and say, "Do you have a couple of minutes? I'd like to ask you a couple of questions and see if we can't help you achieve this goal, whether it's get more business, make more sales, contact more customers, and so on." But make it a gracious call. Say, answer the question, "What's in it for me?" What's in it for me, right at the beginning, and be very polite as opposed to aggressive, and get them to agree. And they say, "Yes, I just like to ask you a couple of quick questions and see if we can't help you in a cost-effective way." That was used to be my approach. And people would say either yes or no. If they said no, then you say, "Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, so I'll let you get back to your work. And if you do change your mind, my name is Brian Tracy, and I'd really like to talk to you for a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for your time." Something like that. Always leave the door open when you go away. But if they say they're not interested, remember that some will, some won't, and so on, because people are busy and they may have no interest today and may become one of your best customers in the world a month from now. So always leave the door open. Always leave a pleasant impression on the customer.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's powerful.
Can I go to the next question from the audience? I have somebody here that said, "What are the most common mistakes you see business owners make when they try to scale their companies on their own?" And if it's okay with you, Brian, I'm going to go to Allison first on this one.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead,
Yeah,
Allison.
that's a great question. Well, there is a saying, what got you here won't get you there. And when you start your business, it's all you or you and a partner. And you've got your hands in there and you're optimizing your products and services. You're making calls. You're doing all the things that we're talking about here. It's all dependent on you. But as your business grows and you start building a team, then the structure of the business needs to change. You literally need to restructure your business at this higher level so you move into more of a visionary role and you're not micromanaging everyone. A lot of times business owners get stuck because you feel like you have to have your eyes on everything going in and out of the business. And that's fine when you're smaller, but as you grow, it is impossible and you become the bottleneck of the company. But a lot of times we don't see that within ourselves, and we are creatures of habit. We do what we do and we do what we know. And so as you are ready to scale and you've moved into that kind of mid six-figure range and you've got some team members, working with a mentor or a team of mentors is really critical because they're going to help you shift into the right scalable models that fit for your business. And what a scalable model is taking your product or your service and shifting it into a model that can replicate what you do so that it multiplies well beyond you. So this could be, maybe it's a subscription program, and so you have monthly recurring revenue. Or maybe it is, retail locations, multiple retail locations, or franchising, or software, or a certification program. There's so many different ways to scale. And scaling is really just taking your offering and making it a one-to-many. So you're reaching many people with the same amount of time and energy. And that's really strategy. And you really don't know that unless you've been around people that are doing it. So that's why it's so important to get that support. But when you do, you're going to grow so much faster than it would be if you were trying to be that orchestra leader and do everything on your own.
So the timing sort of is like 1+1 when you're doing it yourself, but it's a multiplication sign when you're scaling with the way that you teach, so that you can expand yourself very rapidly over a wide area. Is that correct?
Exactly. And we call it the multiplier.
And
It's about finding your multiplier. And some companies can have several, and some can have one and become $1 billion company. So if you look at like Orange Theory is the fitness company. They started with one location, and she was generating under $50,000 a year. But when she started franchising, master franchising, that was her scalable model, her multiplier. Now they have over 1,800 locations doing over $1 billion a year. The same model as one, but now they have multiplied it. Or you see, like for instance, Hint Water. It's a water that is a natural water with fruit. So she used to try selling that on Amazon, and she did okay. But once the founder, Kara Golden, once she started a subscription program where many people were signing up for a monthly recurring delivery, now they're able to reach so many more people, right, with the same time and energy. And so the business grew by hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's tremendous. The whole word multiplication makes me so happy just to think about multiplying your business. And you're right. I think of the starting up of McDonald's, which is a very famous story, that Ray Kroc, working out of a factory in Chicago, was selling milkshake machines, and he found that he kept getting order after order for milkshake machines from this little hamburger stand out in San Bernardino. And of course, I lived in California and within driving distance of the original McDonald's. And so it was an interesting story. He on his own tick, drove all the way out, about 2,000 miles, drove all the way out there to see what they were doing that was consuming so many milkshake machines. And he had developed what we now call a franchise model, that you could duplicate it. And if you duplicate it, and the standards is really important, you had to have high quality standards that got really predictable results and benefits. That I call it made customers happy. That's the most important thing of all. It just made them happy. And as a result, they were able to duplicate it, and he bought the rights from them to duplicate the model. And they insisted that they use the word McDonald's on it. So that was the quid pro quo. So they sold him their name, and the rest is history. They have 36,000 stores. 36,000 stores, and according to my research, they've only had one failure of 36,000 franchises. And the failure was caused because freeway was built that cut off this McDonald's from traffic. Nobody could get to it. But that was the only example where they had one that didn't work. And so you help people to set up basically the recipe, the different ingredients that are necessary, the order that the ingredients are put together, and then how to create the product, sell the product, service the product, and so on. And then one of my favorite stories is that how did they double the sales of shampoo? And at that time, people said, wash. And so what they did is they took one word, remember this, it was wash, rinse, and they wrote repeat. And so people used it twice. and they doubled the use of shampoos and made shampoos $1 billion business. Well, what you teach is to do with exactly what works and then repeat and then repeat, and repeating is the scaling. And so
Yes.
once you have one successful business or enterprise, you could take the success elements of that and teach people to do it exactly right, like a recipe, and then repeat.
Yes.
So
Yes, it's creative strategy, really. And it's like what you were talking about earlier. You know, my father built the largest chain of women's clothing stores in the 70s and early 80s, and in the Midwest of the United States, that were privately owned. And I used to go with him, Brian, from store to store when I was little and just watch him. And he had such a passion for what he did. And I know you were in with shopping centers and all of that as well. And I used to say, Dad, you know, I want to learn from you. Now, like, give me some really good advice. And I was always thinking he was going to give me something really complex. And he would say things like, do more of what's working and do more complementary things to what's working and drop what's not. And so I heard you mentioning that earlier, and it's so true. It's the same thing with scaling, is we just need to figure out what is the right model for your company. You don't have to start over, but you can expand an area of your business to this new scalable model. And if it's the right fit, and we got to sometimes tweak it a little bit, you
yes,
know, it's your business will multiply. That's where you see those unicorns, that they just start growing quickly. And then, you know, you need to understand how to be a leader. And I know you teach all about that, and how to empower your team, how to have them get behind the vision so they take it and run with it. So there's all these different pieces to it. And that's what we help CEOs do all over the world for the last 16 years.
yes. And you know, if you can tap in to the intellectual capital of other successful people, you can save yourself years of hard work in getting to the same level of financial results, financial success. Trying to do it yourself is what we call a bugs game, is because people have already paid and they made the mistakes, and they'll give you the finished product, and they don't charge you for the mistakes. They tell you what works and what doesn't work. And I always say to people, listen to them.
Yes. They've already been there. They've had the pains and the heartaches.
Yes,
So you don't have to. And our team they've all built very successful companies. Some of them have had thousands of employees. And so we get it. We have made those, missteps and so forth, but they're all learning and they're all valuable. But we don't want you to just chase after tactics and try this and try that. We want you to be super clear on where you're going. It's going to save you so much time and so much energy and so much money.
yes. And never lose the vision of yourself becoming wealthy, becoming first of all a millionaire, and then a 2 millionaire and a 3 millionaire, and never lose that. Is keep it in your mind, and you will attract into your life the people and the resources and the ideas to make it come true. I teach a series of formulas, systems to double your income and double it again and double it again. And one of the things you all have to realize is that there's no easy success. There many years ago there was a movie, and the movie was about this guy who got into trouble and was sent to a chain gang, and he finished his sentence and went back and worked hard in this large company and met the boss's daughter, and they planned to get married. And then it came out that he had been a convicted criminal, and he lost his job and he lost his position and so on. And he was asked, "What did you think about this?" And he said, "Well," he said, "when you make a mistake, you pay and you pay and you pay." And Barbara and I always joke about this. When something comes back to bite you in the bum, if you like, you say, you pay and you pay. And well, the key to success is don't pay and pay and pay. Let somebody else pay. Let somebody else make the mistakes and
Yes.
lose their money and everything else. The average self-made millionaire has gone broke 2.2 times, according to one study. So if you go broke, uh, then see it as a badge of honor. It means that you have really taken on great responsibilities. You've taken on great chances. You've entered the battlefield of business success, and you have learned some valuable and indispensable lessons. One of my favorite examples today is the founder of Amazon. Um, Help me out,
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. And I've got two or three of his books and his various ideas. He borrowed money from his parents to start the company, and they didn't make any money for 7 years. They lived on borrowed money. At 7 years, they turned the corner, and for 7 more years, they just worked and worked and worked and worked. And then, boom, the company became $1 trillion company, one of the three biggest companies in the history of the world, and today basically dominates online marketing. When he
Yeah.
started, though, people said, "Oh my God, we made a mistake. We lost money, blah, blah, blah." He said, "No, no, no. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. There's no
Yes.
such thing as failure. There's only feedback." So we've had some feedback, and let us get extract every lesson possible. So the whole company was focused on what do we do right, and what would we do differently next time. What did we do right? Forget about the mistakes. Um, what did we learn from it, and how can we improve it? And so basically, they kept improving and improving and improving, and suddenly broke loose. Same thing with Steve Jobs. The same thing with people who become incredibly successful. They have failure after failure after failure, and suddenly big success. And so,
Yes.
if our friends who are listening are having these challenges, have more. What does it say in the Bible? Do you serve an ungrateful master? Serve him the more. In other words, if you are making mistakes in your own business, make more mistakes. There's nothing wrong with mistakes, as Jeff Bezos said. It's not learning from the mistakes. That's what's wrong. The mistakes are inevitable and unavoidable. If you're the most brilliant person in the world, you're going to fall on your face. So therefore, say, what did I learn from this? And it's quite amazing when you have that focus on learning. You learn at a rapid speed. And Allison, what you do is you help people step on the accelerator of their own success. You help them to succeed faster. They're not going to be able to avoid the mistakes and problems, but they're going to get the lessons from them and learn faster and recover quicker and get to their goal of financial independence, financial success. It's a
Yes.
wonderful thing.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, like with Jeff Bezos, he just decided that they were going to be a success. So even when they were not turning a profit, and actually they I don't know, it was something like $1 billion in debt, which seems, it makes others' financial worries seem like nothing when you think of that. But he
Yes.
was jumping up and down with enthusiasm with his team and keeping everybody excited because he knew where he was going. And I think that's just so important, is that you just decide that this is going to be successful and then get the support. And that's why I love the work that we do, because we get to see the transformations every single day. I just talked to one of our clients this morning, and her name is Kita Centella, and she owns a company called Loose Leaf Tea Market. And she had a retail store in Phoenix, but really helping her to strategize on her multiplier, create a subscription program, get clear on her avatar, who was her ideal customer, so that we could make sure her messaging was speaking to that customer and what they needed. Now her business literally has exploded. Within 4 months, she's 16 times her business, Brian, which is just been amazing to watch. Like so now she is moving out of the retail store. She's going just online. She has a huge warehouse now. Like, it's changed her entire life. And part of that was the internal work and just believing that it would happen, because there was a part of herself before that said, oh, well, no matter what I do, it's not going to work out. So at the same time we helped her with the strategy, we also helped her with the mindset and really seeing it already successful before it had even happened.
Yes, well, you're talking, and Lenny talks about that too. The law of attraction. The law of attraction says what you think about, you bring about, and the more you think about success, the more you attract into your life people, circumstances, and ideas that make it possible. But my point is that they're attached to the law of attraction. There's the law of repulsion. Is if you think about problems and difficulties and unexpected failures and so on and so forth, you actually set up a negative force field that drives success out of your life. So you never talk about failure. You only talk about success. And I remember I've studied military history for my whole life. And one of the greatest generals of all time was a man named Hannibal. And Hannibal only lost 1 or 2 battles in his history, but he defeated in the Roman Empire in the worst battle that the Romans ever suffered, lost more men in one battle. And he went against the Roman army, and they were twice the size, and they were determined to destroy him. And he went out in front on his horse, and he said, people are wondering what's going to happen in the battle today. He said, well, the answer is we're going to win. And you're probably wondering how we're going to win against the most powerful army in the world, twice as large as ours. And he says it's simple, because they don't have anybody named Hasdrubal. Now, Hasdrubal in the Carthaginian language was equivalent to John or Robert. So there were an enormous number of people. And he said they don't have anybody named Hasdrubal. And Hasdrubals are undefeatable. And so are their friends. And everybody laughed. They thought this massacred the entire Roman army. They were so confident. And he said, it's just like a dumb answer. They don't have anybody named John.
Yeah, I love that. It's really what you are thinking about, you bring about. And I truly believe that. And everybody here listening deserves to have great success, great wealth. You can make a big difference in the world. And all of those that have listened and followed your work over the years, Brian, you've helped so many people create that success. And it's just really such a beautiful thing. And that's my mission in life. And it's what makes me the happiest. I really feel like so blessed to be living my calling in helping people step into the highest version of themselves and accomplish all the dreams that they have in their life, in their business. It's just extremely rewarding. And so I just, that's really what I'm on here with you to talk about, is that what if, the big vision that you have, what if it could be 3 times bigger? What if it could be 10 times bigger? What if it could be 100 times bigger or more? It's just allowing yourself, like what the story you were just sharing, Brian, is that here is this guy. How was he able to win this battle against this big army? Well, why not? Why not? And that's the way I look at it with any opportunity. Why not? Why not 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion? I mean, Jeff Bezos had never had a business before. Wow. He never even had a business before. And look what he created.
Yes.
Can I make a quick observation?
Yes.
We have like, I want to say there's like 12 or 1300 people on here right now. And I just want to ask you a question that's here watching. I love what Allison and Brian shared. And Allison said something about Jeff Bezos, that his vision was like unshakable. He knew exactly where he was going. Of the 1300 people here, the top 1% are the top 1% for a reason. So that's like 13 people, right? I'm going to guess that there's only 13 people that if I woke up in the middle of the night and shook you out of a dead sleep, you could wake up and give me exactly what your vision is. So what I would challenge you to do, if you want, put it in the comments. What is your vision? And are you willing to get committed to it? Are you willing to be unshakable about it? Because I think that is so key. Brian said it. He said you have repulsion and attraction. You know, attraction is also being able to say no to distractions that are coming your way that keep you from the vision. So I would just say, put in the chat, if you don't mind, what your vision is. We'd love to see it. If you're passionate enough about it to put it in the chat. You know, I guess I'm being a little challenging because I get really fired up about that. And to be honest, I was challenged with it when I was flat broke. Flat broke is not a bad place to be because all you can go is up. But I was at a seminar, I was flat broke, I had nothing. And the guy leading the seminar, there was about 800 people in the room. He says, I have an assignment for you to do for 90 days. And he said, the sad fact is there's only going to be 3 or 4 of you that do it. He goes, because people just don't follow through. And I remember I was flat broke. I snuck into the seminar too. I didn't have the money to get in. I actually snuck in. True story. And I remember sitting at that table and shutting my eyes and said, I'm going to be one of those 3 or 4 people no matter what. And I was ready for the assignment and I did it and it changed my life. You know, within 3 years, I had a business that was doing over $3 million a year in e-commerce revenue from flat broke. I mean, what you guys are sharing is absolutely the truth. Sorry for interrupting. I get real passionate about that. Somebody that needed to hear that. I don't know who it is, but there was some of I had that, you know, you have that feeling like somebody needs to hear something. So anyway.
Let me tell you. Thank you. I lived in Vancouver, British Columbia at the time when all of the Indian merchants and business people were being expropriated and thrown out of Uganda by Idi Amin. So these people had gone to Africa and gone to all these small towns and countries and built very successful businesses. They were the entrepreneurs of Africa. And Idi Amin came along and said, well, these people have all this wealth and our people don't. So we'll just expropriate them and then everybody will be rich and they can leave. So what happened with the Canadian government, they immediately commissioned several big Boeing jets and sent them down to Uganda to pick up everybody who wanted to come to Canada, because they recognized that these were trained business people, and they got on the with virtually nothing, the clothes in their hand, and they were flown into the major cities of Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and they had to start over with nothing. And so you saw them on the street. There's stories in the newspaper, and you saw them driving. They'd be driving an old car, and there'd be 8 people in the car, and they'd be driving around, just looking around and so on. And then the next month, there was only 6 people in the car, and then 4 people, and then 2 people, and then the car was new. And one by one, they began to start businesses similar to the businesses that had been expropriated. And time went on, and then after the next 2 or 3 years, all of these people went off of all welfare, all government support. They had new businesses, new cars, new homes. And what happened was they had this mindset of you can start anywhere and build a successful business. And of course, in third world countries, you know, I've spent time in 100 of them. If you're in third world countries, it's very difficult because limited resources, brutal competition, tremendous corruption, and so on. So these Indian and Pakistani business people, they had this experience of starting and building a successful business, and they just took it to Canada, and they said, oh my God, I mean, you can't believe it. It's so easy here because you have so many legal protections and so much opportunity and so many potential customers. And within 2 or 3 years, they turned out to be one of the greatest humanitarian evacuations that took place in history. And all across Canada today, You have hundreds and hundreds of businesses that employ thousands and thousands of people. And these people arrived at the airport with virtually nothing, their clothes in a bundle or an old suitcase, and they started with zero.
I
And,
love that.
you know,
Yeah.
and when you think of that, when you think that that's possible for people with no advantage at all except mindset, and this is what you teach, this is what Lanny teaches. The mindset is, I'm here to be successful, so let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's get on with it. Exactly. And it is a decision that you make, and then surrounding yourself with people that have been there and done it.
Yeah,
And then, get a plan and work a plan. And
yeah,
that's why we have this system called the Scale It method, Brian,
yeah,
and it covers 5 pillars of a scalable company. It's strategic vision, which
yeah.
is all about where are you going? Got to know where you're going, right? To get to that destination. So let's get clear on that. And then we reverse engineer that with the steps. You need cash flow, and that's driven by marketing and sales and the organization of your finances. And then alliance of the team is all about building a team that is aligned behind the vision. And then there's leadership, because that's all about how you show up and how you empower other people to step up in their leadership. And then the last is execution. It's just where the rubber meets the road, and you make it happen, and you just decide and you work the plan. And that's why we developed this program, Brian, called the Scale It Amplifier program, where if it's okay if I share with you, because we're really excited about it, what you're talking about helping people accomplish things. Here we are approaching the end of the year, and this is the time, don't you think? Like, some people think, oh, the year is coming to a close, so I'm just going to cruise through December. But if you look at Olympic athletes, right, if they're going to run a race, they're going to run straight through that finish line. And so that you can then start the new year feeling strong instead of having to ramp up.
Well, two things. One is I always end the year. I write in my journal all the time. Here's my journal. I accidentally bought this huge journal from Amazon, and so here it is. And I write in it. It's a huge 300 pages, but I write in it every day. And one of the things that I write toward the end of the year is, this next year is going to be the best year of my life. This
I love that.
is going to be the best year of my life. The second thing I wanted to ask is, let's say someone wants to take advantage of your knowledge and your skill. What would be the next step with regard to yourself? How would they communicate with you? What website would they go to? Please help us. Because
I think I can answer that question for you, Brian, because I talked Allison into giving us access to her program, if that's all right, if I share it with everybody. Would that be cool?
absolutely.
All right, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat then. So I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Allison, but I'd love to get it to everybody. If you're okay
Yeah.
with it, I want to do it with
I
your permission.
am.
Bart.
Thanks, Lanny.
Right.
That is great. And, Lanny and I got together, and he's like, what can we give to Brian's followers to help him with all of the things that you share and what I've been talking about scaling here. And specifically for those of you that have a business and you're really wanting to take it to the next level, we developed something called the Scale It Amplifier. And what it is, it's a 3-month program. So it's going to take you from November through December and through January, so we can finish this year strong and start 2025 on a high note. And we are going to build out your scale plan, all the things that we've been talking about here today, the strategic vision, your cash flow plan, your team plan, your hiring plan, how to build your team managed company, your leadership, and everything you need to do to execute. And we're going to actually be there with you, my team and I, every single week, all the way through January. And we're going to challenge you. We're going to stretch you more than you ever have before. And we're going to get clear on what is that big goal. Like if you could accomplish anything you wanted in your business in the next 3 months, what would that be? And let us figure out what that multiplier is and help you narrow in so that you can be laser focused. And so by the end of this, the end of January, you're so proud of yourself. You're so excited because you did it. And now you've got this scalable company and you are breaking through ceilings that you never thought that you would. And you're surrounded by other people that are doing the same. So there's all this incredible energy around you. And Lanny and Brian, normally like working with us directly in our high level CEO mastermind, you know, it's close to $50,000. But for this program that we created, it is under $2,000. And so it really is like for such a small investment to absolutely change the trajectory of your business and your life.
Allison, also, one of the things I noticed too, if you don't mind me asking, is it true that somebody can show up and do the entire 12 weeks and you have 100% refund money back guarantee?
Yes. If you don't get the value that you want to, if you don't achieve what you are setting that intention to achieve, and you don't feel like that you got the value, we will give you all your money back, no questions asked, because we so believe in this. And we ran this program last spring, and the people that attended this they have never experienced results like this in their life. And so many of them are going to do it again because they're like, okay, I want to take it to the next level. So my team of high-level mentors, they've all built very successful businesses. They're going to be on with you, and we're going to walk you through this. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get to work and make it happen.
Brian, I highlighted that because I know you love that.
Well, this has been Lanny's and my philosophy from the beginning. We believe that your services should be free. And what is free? When I would speak to my audience, I say everything here that I've just shown you is free. Now, wait for a minute, because it's a special kind of free. And everybody would go, oh, boo, because they knew there was a hook. And I say the hook was you would take the program, you pay for it, you use it, you have it for a year. And if at the end of a year, it has not more than paid for itself, in your estimation, you don't have to fill out any forms, we'll give you 100% of your money back. And we started doing that early in our business. And you know what? We would get one request for a return out of 400 sales. 1 out of 400. Because the longer the guarantee, the lower is the return rate. And our services, our product like yours, works so well that all people just had to use it for it to pay for itself. And so it's a very simple guarantee. It's kind of like a joke, but you decide whether or not it's worth the price, and you have a whole year to decide. And we never got any returns because we were delivering a good product like yours. That sounds like outstanding. So basically what we do is we offer free services to qualified customers. Free services to qualified customers. To be qualified, you have to have a business, you have to have the desire, you have to be willing to work and put in the time. There's certain simple things that you have to do. Now, one thing that I have found is people say, well, if you're going to give an unconditional guarantee, why don't you give a guarantee and we'll pay you afterwards? Well, it's interesting because what we discovered, and this is based on research, is that if a person pays in advance, then they are determined to get their money's worth. And so they will work really hard to use your ideas and principles. If they don't have to pay until afterwards, then they'll look for every reason not to use your ideas. so they don't have to pay. So
Yeah,
you are
true.
you're doing your customer a kindness by requesting payment in advance with an unconditional guarantee in the end, rather than allowing people to go through your program for nothing. And I've done that again for my seminars all over the world for 30, 40 years. And it works out perfectly. It works out.
Yes. It's really, you know, when you have skin in the game, as they say,
Yes.
you're going to show up.
Yes.
And you're worth that, right? You're worth that. But
Yes.
if it's something that is free, then, you know, we can come up with every excuse why, oh, I'm tired, I'm busy, I don't have time. It's
Yes.
very easy to do that. But if you have invested in yourself, which
Yes.
is you're worth it. You need to invest in yourself, then you're going to show up. You're going to take the time, you're going to do the work, and then you're going to get the results. And this is what I did. I mean, I got a mentor when I was a single mom, literally with no money at all. And I just pulled out my visa and I just hired this mentor and said, you know, I want to be successful. Like, I don't want to struggle. I want a great life for myself and my daughter. I want this escalator to the top. I don't want to have to be, you know, struggling with every step. And
Yes.
so that's why we really believe in what we do, and we have so many success stories to show for it.
Well,
Allison, I'd like to ask, can I ask Allison a question about it?
sure.
So Allison, I'm curious, like what inspired you to create this? Like why'd you create this? Because this looks like an amazing program. What was the inspiration?
Yeah, so the inspiration really is that, like what I said earlier, I'm so passionate about helping business owners because business owners are making a difference in so many people's lives, in
Yes.
your employees, your customers, and everything. But I also know that millions of business owners, I know this to be true, they're out there and they're struggling. And even business owners in the 7 and 8 figures, they're buried in their business, and it's usually because you're focused on the wrong things and you don't really understand how to scale. When you scale, it's actually easier. And so that's why we say having a $50 million company is actually easier than a $5 million company, because you have the right systems and processes in place, you have the right team, you have the right scalable model. Well, why don't we put that in place earlier on? And so that you don't have to, like so many business owners for decades, Brian, as you know, they are just burning the candle at both ends. And that isn't necessarily what's creating success. It's working on the right things that are going to give you the biggest results. And that's why we created this, Lanny, because this is what's worked for me. I've had 10 of my own companies over 40 years. And, you know, after struggling in the first one because I didn't understand these things, once I put this into place, I was able to build companies that didn't depend on me for success. I could put the creativity in and the ideas in and build the team around it and really be that leader and that visionary. And that's what the Amplifier program is all about. How do we take what you're already doing, but amplify the growth? But we're going to do it in 3 months where we get you laser focused. And so by the end of that 3 months, you look back and you don't even recognize the business and how much it's changed in a short period of time.
Love
You know,
that. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Lenny.
No, you go ahead, Brian.
Well, I studied business books for decades, and my favorite writer is Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker wrote a lot of one-liners and observations and so on. And when I took an MBA at the University of Alberta, I asked them why they didn't assign anything by Drucker. And they said, well, you know, we like to sort of stretch out our courses. Drucker summarizes an entire book from a university professor. He summarizes it in a few paragraphs. And so we kind of avoid assigning Drucker's works because we don't want people reading Drucker and comparing it with ourselves. And I thought it was really funny that he admitted that. But Drucker pointed out that it takes 7 years for a business to succeed, on average, 7 years. And If you can imagine a skier who comes out of the hut and heads down the slope. Well, this is a business startup. And the business startup, Forbes wrote this, is a race against time. Do you find a way to earn more profit than it costs you to stay in business before you go broke? And about 90% of new businesses go broke in the first 2 to 4 years. However, businesses started by people who already have business experience, about 90% of them succeed. Very interesting difference. He said, no. So now you reach the point where you're skiing down like a plane going down to crash. And finally you pull it and you pull it up and you pull it up and you pull it up. And now you're making more profit than it costs. Then it takes you 2 more years to pay back what you've borrowed for the first 3 years. And then, I'm sorry, for the first 2 years. It was 2 years down and 2 years up. And then at the 4 year mark, you have to actually do what Allison does. You have to slow things down and you have to put systems in place. And that is just so important. All successful business, from McDonald's all the way through, every business that works has to slow down, even if it's growing rapidly, and put systems in place so that they say systems are designed by geniuses to be followed by idiots. In other words, the systems are so simple that all you have to do is follow them and you get success. And then it takes 3 years working with systems before your business breaks into the success and becomes a successful business. So when I first heard that it's going to take you 7 years to be successful in the business that I was going into, I said, not me. Oh, wait, I'm going to do it faster than that. And it took 2 years of struggle, 2 years to pay back the loans, and 3 years to break into the sky. And so that's the reason I'm saying that is that serious money is patient money. Wealthy people are patient. They have the patience to put in a lot of work for a long time. I used to say in my seminars, I say, if you're going to start your own business, it's going to take you 7 years to become successful. And so you have to just build that into your planning. And it's going to be 7 really hard years. It's not easy. And people say, oh, I'll be 7 years older before I achieve success. And here's the question. It's one of my favorites. I say, but the time is going to pass anyway.
Exactly. You're going to be living that 7 years. So you might as well be putting it towards where you want to go.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
The time is going to pass anyway. And that's such a wonderful observation. Well, yes, 7 years from now, you'll be 7 years older. The only question is, will you be financially independent? Will you be a self-made millionaire or on the way to doing that? Or will you just be earning at a Joe job at regular wages like 80% of the population is? And people say, yes, you're right. And that changes. I just, again, reading some material on leadership. And one of the most important qualities of leadership is what is called time perspective. Is leaders think long term. Non-leaders think day to day, what they're going to eat, what they're going to drink, what they're going to watch on television. But leaders think long term. And there's a book by Edward Banfield, who was a sociologist at Harvard, and he wrote a book called The Unheavenly City. And this is one of the great classics that everybody should read. One of the things he looked at is why is it that some people become financially independent? America is a land of immigrants. So people come over here. Most of them start with little or nothing, like the business people from Uganda. And some people become very successful. What is the difference? And the answer, time perspective. He said it's how long into the future you think and plan when you do your daily activities. And people who are going to be successful are willing to invest a lot of time in themselves. They start a little earlier, they work a little harder, they stay a little later, they upgrade their skills, they work on the weekends, and they're willing to do this for week after week and month after month and year after year. And it accumulates like a snowball. It accumulates and accumulates, and you start to get more and more success, and then you trigger what Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world, compounding. Is
Yes.
you learn and you practice and you get results and you get feedback and you become better and you do it and you get more success and more practice and you do it again, like scaling. And what happens is you get more and more and more and better results. And in time, you're living in a big house in a nice neighborhood. Your kids are in private schools, and you're going on vacations in the South Seas and in Paris. And people say, "Geez, you're sure lucky. You're sure lucky." And I've worked with so many successful people, and they say luck had nothing to do with it.
No.
They
It,
work
yeah.
themselves to a frazzle to get there. But once you get there, then no matter what happens to the world, your entire industry could be wiped out completely. You could be penniless and standing on the street with a cardboard suitcase, but you'll have it all back again very fast because
Yes.
now you are a millionaire on the inside. Now nothing can stop you. And that's a wonderful feeling to have.
Yes, I resonate with absolutely everything that you're saying. And believe me, I've been at the low, low, Brian. I've been there all, feeling like all alone to, now we've created this incredible success. My husband and I know you said that you've been together over, 40 years. We've been together now. We just celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary, and we have a home in Mexico where we live there several months a year. And I love the compounding interest, this idea, because as you scale, when you get a team behind your vision, it is like that compounding energy. First it's you, and you're the one putting the vision out there, but then you've got all these people that believe in the vision and they're there to support you. So all of a sudden that vision, that intention, that energy starts to compound, and you start to just really get this mileage behind what you're doing. And so that stepping back, like you said, that what was the line you said about serious money is patient money? When you step back, then you can, even when you're super busy, because we often think, oh, I don't have time to step back. No, let's step back and let's get really clear. Where are we going? What is going to be the biggest needle mover? What's working? What can we dive deeper with what's working, dropping what's not? And that's what we're really going to do on the Scale It Amplifier program. We're going to get laser focused on what is working and help you to multiply that. And so that your focus is really moving you forward, instead of, like, so many business owners are kind of all over the place. They get distracted easily and they're chasing that shiny object and so forth. We want to get you focused on what is working. And because of that, you'll start to get that traction faster. And we're there to support you because we've been there. We know what it takes. Don't do this journey alone. Listen to what Brian talked about, what you said about mentors. Don't do it alone, because it can be lonely at the top, and there's a lot of people around you that really don't get you and so forth. And so you don't want to waste one day of your life. Every day is super, super important.
Yes. Well, one of the joys of our work is that we do work that we love.
Yeah.
If you don't love your work, then you're in the wrong field. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that it is the wrong field. It just means it's the wrong field for you. So your main job at the beginning of your career is to find something that you really enjoy, a product you enjoy, a service you enjoy, customers that you enjoy, so that when you wake up in the morning, you can hardly wait to get to work, because you really, really get a great feeling of pleasure dealing with and helping and selling stuff and delivering it and so on. If you don't have that draw where it pulls you and it pulls you, then it just means that's not the right work for you. And
Yes.
so the early part of your career, your job is to find what it is that you really love to do and then become really good at doing it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes at night, Brian, do you ever have this experience? I am so excited about what I'm doing. Like I just want to go to sleep fast so I can wake up
Yes.
and go after it. Like I really get excited, and I think that is such a gift for those of you that are listening to figure out what that is and then really, double down on that. And I believe everybody has a purpose. You're born with it. Everybody has gifts. You're born with them,
Yes.
and believe them, embrace them, and then get support so that you can actualize them.
Yes. There's a Jim Rohn line where he said, you must concentrate on your gifts and they will make way for you. And that's a really neat little saying. Concentrate on your gifts and they will make way for you. Literally, the seas will part. They'll open up. Opportunities will come into your life beyond belief. I bet that in Uganda, there were thousands of people who were struggling to make a living in a third world country and worked hard. And then suddenly they came and they expropriated all their property and threw them out. But I'll bet you many of them, most of them, had dreams and fantasies of being successful and living in nice homes and having nice lives. And then they come out and they get plucked out basically and dropped into cities that they'd never been to all across Canada. And that's what they achieved their great goals.
Yes.
And sometimes people don't realize that a setback is actually a gift that's been sent to you, and so you look at it as a gift, and it'll turn out to be a gift. There's a little story that I was trying to think of, and I can't now. It'll come to me in a couple of seconds. But your job, my job, Lanny's job. I'm sorry, no, Joe, beat me about the head and shoulders. Uh,
Hey, Brian, no need to say sorry. You're sounding like a Canadian right now.
Well, so it's really important is that we recognize that everything in life is a gift. Just breathing in and breathing out is a gift, and so
Yes, it is.
our job is to help people to open their gifts. And
Yeah.
remember that 80-20 rule is the top 20% of people earn 80% of the money in every field, and your job is to make a decision today to be in the top 20%. And then the only question you ask for the rest of your career is how? How do I get into the top 20%? And with regard to you, Allison, who can help me to get there? Who knows how to do it? Who's already done it for other people? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is find somebody who's already done it and then become a really good student of people who've already done it. And,
Yeah.
and
That's what successful people do. I mean, if you look, they've all had mentors,
yes,
what successful athletes, Serena Williams. I mean, she had the skill as a tennis player, but she needed her coach to give her those strategies to stay on point. You have the skill, you have everything inside of you. It's just having someone that is not emotionally attached, that can see things that you're not seeing,
yes.
and to point you in the right direction and to get you unstuck and get you refocused. It is, that's what Steve Jobs did. He had his mentors. This is what success. I've had mentors, and I continue to. And so, it's the smartest thing you can do for your business and your life.
So, Lanny, do any of our friends online have any questions that we can answer?
Well, I have a question for both of you, actually. It's an idea that I had because I don't know, Allison, I think what you're doing is so amazing and cool. We actually have as you see on the screen, the Brian Tracy AI team. And I was thinking it'd be cool. I have to ask both your permission. Allison, if it wouldn't be a distraction, could we throw in a 3-month membership to that as a bonus to anybody who joins your program. And basically what we do is we take their business and help them automate through AI and multiply every aspect of their business times 10, times 20, sometimes 50 or 100 if we can. And I'd love to give it to them if they join your program. Would that be okay with you? And then I got to ask the boss's permission if Brian would allow it. So what do you guys think?
Wow, that is it. If Brian is okay with it, man, that would be what a gift.
I think that is a great idea. I have spent so much time. I've now published 94 books, and I have 6 more. I'm going to be at 100 by the end of next year on different subjects. And so I know a lot about writing, and writing has made me world famous. Is every country I go to, they've got as many as they've got 56 languages of my books now worldwide. And so I thought, if you're a business person and you have a book, it makes you and your company more attractive, more credible than if you don't. So how do you write a book? Well, if all you do is you use AI to automate the production of a book, which is very simple to do. In fact, I have a really good friend named Howard Partridge in Houston, and he's a tremendous entrepreneurial teacher and has been for years. And so I said to him, Howard, why don't we write a book together? And he was here for a meeting. So we got together. He said, well, what would it be about? It would be, like I say, 12 chapters on how to start, build, manage, or turn around any business. And he said, that's a great one. You can write 6, and I'll write 6 chapters. And I said, fine. So I was sitting there thinking about it a couple of days later, and I said, I'll use AI to write the book. So I said, please give me a book written in the voices of Brian Tracy and Howard Partridge on how to start, build, manage, or turn around a successful business, especially for entrepreneurs. And then I pushed the button. I learned this from Lanny, by the way. I pushed the button and it went 12 chapters, a title, and 12 great chapters with a 1-line description of the chapter. And I said, this is good. Can you give me 500 words per chapter to expand the definition of the book? And I pushed the button and it was so fast. I mean, you can't, it's unbelievable. And I've got the book. And by the way, I'll send it to anybody. I sent it to Howard yesterday, but it's so good in terms of an outline, and it's so data rich. I mean, it'll do anything that you ask it to. And so I say, put it in the voice of Brian Tracy and Howard Partridge, because both of us have written and spoken and recorded stuff and done seminars and so on. And everything that you've ever done goes into the cloud, and it's just sitting, waiting there for your instructions to write it out. I learned this from Lanny as well. And so I've done all kinds of speaking and recordings and books. The cloud has access to all of it. So I say, put it in my voice based on my experience and my work. And it goes, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you can just take it and expand it like an accordion. And now you have a book, and you can actually be distributing the book. Amazon will publish it at a very low price, small quantities. Get a box full of books, hand them out to all of your prospective customers, and it's beautiful. I mean, you should have a book on what you do that overcomes anybody's doubt about whether or not it's a good process. Here it is. It's written down. You can follow it. You can do it yourself, which would be idiotic, or you can do it with us, which would be the smartest use of your time and money, and will get you to your financial goals, several years faster than trying to do it by yourself, if ever.
I agree. It's so much easier these days, right? There is no excuse. I wrote my book, Scale or Fail. I know you've written, close over 90 books. I have a ways to go to catch up with you, Brian, but I'm working on my 3rd book now. But this program is bringing the book. We're going to do what is in the book. We're going to help you scale, and then yeah, Lanny, if Brian's okay with adding that program in as a bonus, that is, wow, what a
Yeah,
gift.
and then since Brian is, pimping the book so hard, I think we should also throw in the whole app and program that we created on writing books that'll write your book in 20 minutes. Would that be all right, Brian, if we throw that in too? It's the How to Write a Book program. Sold for $500, like legit on the website. If you go there right now, it's $500. But the book actually is written for you in AI. It asks you 15 questions. From the 15 questions, it gives you 20 book ideas, and then it writes out a 12-chapter book, and you have a book done in like 20, 25 minutes.
Yes,
we throw that one in too, Brian?
I read that earlier this week. Jesus. Yes, absolutely. You'll never go wrong helping other people to be successful. You don't have to worry about what's in it for me and am I going to make a profit or something like that. Just give it away. Just give it away. And it'll all come back to you.
Yes.
There's a line that I love. It says, when you give away with no expectation of return, you'll get returns in ways that you never expected. And that happens. So absolutely, Lanny, absolutely.
Awesome.
I think it's wonderful. And
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Thank you,
We'll do it.
Brian.
Hey, Lanny, can I get one of those books, please?
Yeah, and then Brian, we got to get together. I got all kinds of new stuff. I got new toys for you, but we just it's been too long since we've had one of those AI sessions.
Yes.
I want to come too. Can I come?
All right, Allison. Yeah, you can come. We have the book process is just one thing. If I showed you some of the other automations, it would just blow you away. Like, absolutely, it's ridiculous, some of the things that are happening right now.
Amazing.
So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's like what you do, Allison. It's a multiplier,
Mm-hmm.
and there's lots of ways to multiply, and it's just a tool. It's kind of a garbage in, garbage out tool. A lot of people say, oh, AI, whatever. And it's like, and I just smirk and I just think to myself, you have no idea. But that's where, like, you give that mentorship and knowledge and all that stuff, right? But if you don't have that stuff, then you can't get the output. You can't get the good stuff because you don't know what to put in.
Yes.
So, I'd be excited to see what somebody would do with your program and then take it and leverage that tool just to expand what you're telling them to do. Would be really cool to see. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly. Well, this has, been so amazing. And I always learn so much being around you, Brian. Your wisdom. It's like these stories. You have like 10 gabillion stories in your head. You literally have an incredible, inspiring story. I love how you use story to teach, because we can all relate to that, and you remember them, And so, thank you.
Brian, I have a question for you, because I can't tell you how many different people, this is just the Phoenix seminar. What was that? Because I've had there's literally 10 people in the chat have gone, the Phoenix seminar changed my life. What was that? Where do I get that?
It's about maximum achievement. And it was how I started speaking. And I put together a synthesis of all of the best ideas going back 3,000 years on how to unlock your potential and accomplish more than you ever dreamed possible. And I gave it as a 2-day seminar, and then I videotaped it 2 or 3 times, and then started a business and appointed more than 150 professional consulting companies around the world to give the program. Some people gave it to companies as many as 25,000 people. Chevron, for example, gave it to 25,000 people.
Wow.
Big companies worldwide gave it to 10, 15, 20,000 people. And it transformed the companies, transformed the lives, because it is so rich with absolutely beautiful, historically valid ideas going back to Aristotle and all the way through to the present day. And so if you are interested in that, the book, the seminar is still given, but COVID sort of wiped out that seminar business. However, the maximum achievement is the entire Phoenix seminar, word for word. And I recommend it.
Okay. I'll find the recordings. I'm sure I have access to them somewhere in the
Achievement program, which is also available on Audible is the live version of me presenting the seminar. And I did it also in the studio. So we have the live version on audio, then you have the book. And
Okay.
yeah.
I'm intrigued because I've never seen so many different people mention one thing in a live stream. So I just had to ask.
The best thing I've ever done in my life. It's
All right.
the
Well,
one, yeah.
let's find that thing and dust it off and get it out to the people.
Let's what?
Let's find it, dust it off, and get it out to the people. So I'll work on that. I'll find it, and we'll get it out.
3 people have approached me privately who have become billionaires with this program, and countless people have become millionaires and 10 decamillionaires and 100 millionaires. So many, thousands and thousands all over the world. It's really quite extraordinary. For a $20 book, it's a real life changer.
That's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being here. Allison, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate both of your time. And I really hope everybody jumps on Allison's program. It looks incredible. And I'm sure it will be incredible. And again, like what she said, if you try it, go through the whole thing and you don't love it and don't make what you wanted to make, then she'll give you the money back. I don't see how you can lose on that. Any final thoughts, Brian?
No, it's just that the one thing that I learned as part of my success, and all of the people on today understand this, is continuous learning is the indispensable requirement for long-term success. It's continuously upgrade your knowledge, continuously learn new things, read the very best stuff that's out there, read the best-selling books in business, and of course, learn AI, learn whatever it is. Just breathe in, breathe out, and learn every single day. Give yourself, I say, if you read an hour a day, you'll read 1 book a week. 1 book a week is 50 books a year. 50 books a year is 500 books in 10 years. You'll be one of the best educated and highest paid and highest earning people in the world if you just read an hour a day. You read 2 hours a day and just the results will be extraordinary. But just learn, never stop learning. What I do, by the way, is with Lanny, with anybody, and I'll do this with you, Allison, as I ask, what is the best book that you would recommend to a person who wanted to be more successful? What one book would you recommend? For me, I'd recommend Maximum Achievement. What book would you recommend that you have read or of yours? So that I can get it.
Well, Eat the Frog, of course, that is one of my all-time favorite books because it gets you to focus on those bigger things that we might procrastinate and really, push yourself outside of your comfort zone and focus on those things first, one thing at a time. And I think that is just some of the best advice. So
I appreciate that. I'm just writing the 4th edition of Eat That Frog, which is the best-selling book on time management in the world, in 55 languages. And I appreciate that, but I need something new from you.
I got one.
I have another one too that I will share.
Go ahead,
and that is
the
Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Have you ever read that book, Brian?
No.
Oh, it is so fantastic. And he's helped, a lot of people to grow and scale their company by helping them to move out of the zone of excellence and into the zone of genius. And that's one of the things we're going to do in our Scale It Amplifier program, because when you're in your genius, doing that thing that you're meant to do, time just goes by. You're not looking at the clock. You get energized by it. People around you say, wow, that thing you do, you're so amazing at it, right? And that is about finding and living in that genius zone. Because we're good at a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that's the thing we're supposed to be doing.
Who is the author, Allison?
It's Gay Hendricks, Gay and then Hendricks. It is a phenomenal book. We give it to all of our clients. as well. Yeah, so that's a great book that I love. And then I also love the book The Go-Giver by Bob Berg.
I know that.
That's a great, great book. And that's all about, like what you said, you show up as a giver. Like, how can I serve? How can I support? And instead of what can I get?
Yes.
So it's a give to gain. And that's, the type of community that we have in our company, Pinnacle Global Network. Hundreds and hundreds of go-givers. We call it the go-giver community because everybody shows up to support one another. And because of that, everyone grows together.
That's
faster.
I've read this book, as a matter of fact. Now, Lanny, what's your recommendation?
So I got two. I got a book and I got an audio book. And the audio book is audio because the audio is so good you don't want to read it. And the audio book is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And you have to listen to it because his voice is phenomenal.
It's called Green Light?
Green Lights, and it's Matthew McConaughey. And that's Audible. So you got to listen to that one. And then the book, the last book I read that blew me away was Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
Oh, great book.
Never Split the Difference. Amazing book.
Yeah.
Got to read that one.
On negotiation. And he helped negotiate with terrorists and I mean, all kinds of things. And to be able to use that in everyday life, that's so powerful.
Yeah, it wasn't even like I don't know how you feel, Allison, but it wasn't even just about negotiation. It was just about communication and mirroring and how to get more information and just there was so much good stuff. And it was really fun to read and super valuable.
Chris Voss.
Yeah, Never Split the Difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So much Allison, to learn. So much to learn.
Allison, have you listened to Green Lights?
I have not. It is on my list. I've heard that it is spectacular. I know that he was on that live stream that Tony Robbins did, and I heard it was phenomenal. But thank you for reminding me of that. I'm gonna move that up the list. I'm like you, Brian. I've got so many books. I'm always on to something more and to learn more and just continue to grow and evolve. That's why we're here.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
And if it's okay with you guys, Allison agreed to let me our outro today is going to be a video of Allison explaining her program, if that's all right. So we're going to sign off live, and then I'm just going to let that video play. How long is that video, Allison?
I think it's just like 15 minutes, something
Perfect.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Brian. And to every single person. We had like the same people on here we've been live for almost 3 hours now. Holy crap.
Wow.
Including the initial video. So thank you so much for being here. It's really awesome. And I will see you again soon on all these channels. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Good to spend time with you again. What
you.
an honor. Thanks, Lanny.
Thank you.
Adios.
In the Scale It Amplifier exclusive 12-week program. I am Allison Maslin, of course, CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network and creator of the Scale It Method and the designer of the Scale It Amplifier program. And I'm so excited you're here. My personal mission and the aim of our entire team at Pinnacle Global Network is to help you lay the foundation for exponential growth in your company while you reclaim your personal time, your energy, and your freedom. We have helped tens of thousands of business owners across hundreds of industries over the last 15 years to scale beyond what they thought was possible. And now it is your turn. So click the Register Now button on this page to officially join us in the Scale It Amplifier 12-week exclusive program. Our goal is to help you grow more in 12 weeks than the last 12 months combined, all while experiencing more time off, more energy, more freedom than ever before. And after you register, you're going to be contacted by our amazing client care team who will welcome you into our Scale Amplifier community. We'll make sure you have
everything you need to get the absolute best results from the Scale It Amplifier for your unique business. Now, how exciting is that? Now remember, enrollment is only open for a very short window of time, so please do not wait. Click the Register Now button on this page so you don't miss out. We begin this journey in a few short days, so please don't miss this special opportunity to join with other high-level CEOs and founders as they reimagine a whole new future. Now, please understand, the Scale It Amplifier is not just a theoretical pie-in-the-sky program. It's a hands-on, practical journey guided by myself and a hand-selected group of my world-class Pinnacle Global Network CEO mentors, each of whom have run and scaled one, and in many cases, multiple million-dollar companies in various industries. We use proven, time-tested methodologies that have worked for tens of thousands of established business owners across hundreds of industries, and we've been doing it for 15 years. We know what works. What else is true? My incredible CEO mentors and I are not only experienced, but are absolute experts in guiding other business owners, CEOs, and founders to do what we've already accomplished. It's one thing to know how to scale a company yourself. It's a whole other skill to be able to teach what you know to someone else and guide them along the way. Now, I know you have a ton competing for your time and attention. I get it. You need to be efficient and effective with your strategy, and I respect this, and that's why I've kept your time and energy in mind, and I specifically designed Scale It Amplifier for super busy CEOs and founders and business owners like you. Scaling isn't about the hustle, it's about creative strategy, and it requires crystal clear focus, up-leveled leadership frequency, and using a step-by-step proven framework like our Scale It method. And these are going to shortcut you to massive growth and more freedom. An important note, your business must be generating a minimum of $500K in revenue to participate, though we're going to have lots of 7 and multi-7 and even 8-figure companies on this journey with us. So if you are truly ready to become the leader you need to be to actualize the biggest business vision, all while reclaiming your time, your energy, your freedom, this is the program for you. So all you have to do is register now and get going. Scaling your company is a journey, and business owners serious about growing to 8 figures and beyond often have to remind themselves they're playing the long game. In fact, many of our CEO clients attend our Pinnacle Global Network year-long mentoring and peer-to-peer advisory year after year after year because of this. But here's what else is true. Big results, epic growth, and true expansion can happen a lot faster than you think. And that's our goal in Scale It Amplifier, the 12-week exclusive program. Imagine creating more growth in 12 weeks than you did in the last 12 months combined. Yes. We are going to stretch you far beyond what your mind can logically understand. This program is about going outside of what is reasonable and using leveraged strategies that get big results, but with less effort. Scaling your business isn't as hard as it seems. The real challenge for most CEOs is that they either don't know the right steps to take, or you have blind spots that are impossible to see from within your own organization. And many business owners that come to us desperate for help are like I used to be. They're stuck in outdated, limiting leadership habits, or they're bogged down in the day-to-day operations. It's tough to even lift their heads up from their never-ending to-do lists to even think about strategic growth. But what got you here is not going to get you to the next level of success. The Scale It Amplifier is a powerful intervention that shakes you from the patterns that have held you back from fully stepping into the CEO visionary role who guides your team to bring your big vision to life. And the cool thing is, once you make that shift, the rest will start to magically unfold. I've seen this time and time again with our Pinnacle Global Network clients. It's a beautiful thing. Like Missy Kelly, who's the co-founder of Cat Tongue Grips. She came to us when she had one consumer direct product, but she had a big dream and we helped her achieve it. With our support, she's now scaled her company to 9 products in over 1,700 retail stores with over 100% revenue growth year over year. Incredible. Or Tony Hill, who's been running his wholesale office furniture company for 25 years when he came to us. He was so buried in the weeds, he could not lift his head up for a minute to figure out how to scale his 7-figure company. But he took the leap, he joined us, and just 4 months with us, he attained several million-dollar contracts. And this was way beyond what he thought was possible. Or one of my favorite people, Marshall Doyle, he had been running his machine calibration company for over 20 years, working 60 to 80 hours a week. When he found us, he hadn't even taken a single vacation in all those years. It was mind-boggling. And in a short amount of time, we helped Marshall build a fully team-managed company that continues to grow and scale to this day. And he's now acquired over 35 other companies since starting with us. And he shifted to a model where he only needs to attend one 90-minute meeting a week. He has a fully team-managed company. His other companies don't depend on him anymore, and they've grown by tens of millions of dollars. And this is possible for you when you put this proven process in place. Now, Marshall has since become one of our high-level CEO mentors, showing others how to do what he did using the Scale It method. And I could go on and on and on. I have 15 years worth of success stories from CEOs and founders from nearly every industry you can think of: legal, construction, medical, dental, consulting, retail, financial, bridal, pet, wellness, recruiting, engineering, so many. You'd be hard-pressed to find an industry we've not worked with or a CEO mentor on our team that doesn't have experience in. And the CEOs that came to us over the years and are still coming were struggling with many of the same issues I imagine you're facing right now. Yet they made the powerful decision, the choice and the clear commitment to do things differently. And I'll be frank, you can continue doing what you've been doing for years and hoping and yearning for a different outcome. Or you can take this logical leap and join us in the Scale It Amplifier exclusive program. And we're gonna work together using our proven process to figure out your fastest route to the top. Now, you might look at me and think, yeah, but she's been doing this for a long time. She's scaled 10 companies. She has the resources, the team, the experience to make all this work. Who am I to think I can do this? So if there's any part of you that is saying that, let me be clear. It's not always been this way for me. I've been there, believe me. Now, today I'm the go-to expert on scaling companies, and Pinnacle Global Network is the premier CEO mentoring company for established business owners looking to scale. But it really wasn't always this way. In my first business, I worked day and night. I was constantly reactive to all that was happening in my company, and I was the control freak. I micromanaged everyone and everything, and instead of being the CEO visionary, the leader that inspired my team to execute, I was consumed by my business. And instead of running my business was running me. And honestly, I was stressed out and miserable most of the time. I felt so overwhelmed. I was constantly running around and thinking about all the things that I had to do. It was never ending. And then I had my big wake-up call. It was a car accident that shook me to my core. And I'm so blessed to have survived that crash for so many reasons. But what is relevant to you is that it became the catalyst that started my obsession to understand how to run a team-managed company that doesn't depend so much on the founder, the CEO, or the business owner to succeed. That wake-up call propelled me to crack the code on how to run a business that could thrive in the CEO's presence and flourish in their absence. And that was the beginning of creating, testing, using the Scale It method for myself and other business owners who had suffered like me. And then I went on to build 9 more companies that have not depended on me to run in the day-to-day. So now in Pinnacle Global Network, for the past 15 years, where we mentor CEOs to grow and scale their companies, our entire team has it handled. They are rock stars. And we want to show you how you can do the same. Scale and get your life back. So all you have to do is click that register now button and say yes to yourself, yes to your vision, yes to what's truly possible for you. Because bottom line, 12 weeks from now, you'll be on a totally new trajectory in your company. More growth, more income, more impact, more joy, more freedom than you've ever known in your company. And you'll do it all with me, my CEO mentors, and a high group of dedicated, high-level, highly motivated, inspiring business owners on the same path as you. The community alone will change you deeply. I've worked with CEOs, founders, and business owners for close to 40 years now, and I know how wise you are. You see the opportunities for your company. You're intimately aware of your gaps, and you often understand what it will take to overcome them. Yet what I've seen over the years is that even the smartest, most well-intentioned business owners, even the ones that want to shift things badly, have a very difficult time getting themselves out of the weeds of the daily operations to become that visionary CEO that directs execution instead of driving it, without outside intervention. Working with an objective, calm, experienced expert outside your company is key. You need someone who fosters, guides, and leads you to implement everything you've learned in the Scale Accelerator series. This is key. They can help you see your blind spots while pulling out of you the wisdom you already possess. And nobody who did anything significant in the world did it without an experienced coach or mentor. It's so critical to achieving great success with ease. All right, here are the micro details on how the program works. Enrollment for the Scale It Amplifier exclusive is open for a short window only. And after that window, we're closing enrollment. No exceptions. The reason is that our Scale It Amplifier exclusive cohort begins in a few days and goes for 12 weeks. And we're going to take time off for the important holidays, so no need to worry about that. And again, this is not about putting your nose to the grindstone and working super hard. This is about guiding you through precisely sequenced actions and creative strategy with joy, with ease, and with leverage. So, do you need time for this program? Yes, of course. It is not a magic pill. You need to show up. You need to do 100% of your 50%. But please don't let your mind take you out by saying, I don't have the time, or I'm too busy right now, or maybe later. There will be no later. There is no better time, because every second you delay in making the changes that will give you the growth and the freedom from how you're working now is a second that you're wasting. Scaling in the way we show you is not about doing more, but rather identifying and focusing on your multiplier, working to raise your frequency, and being mentored through the process of our proven Scale It method framework. In fact, most of our clients gain a minimum of 20 plus hours a week of their life back very quickly upon implementing what we share. So register now by clicking the button on this page, and as soon as you register, you're going to receive all the important dates for our Scale It Amplifier kickoff call. And on this call with me and our other core facilitator, one of our high-level mentors, you'll set clear and inspiring intentions around what you want to experience in our time together. Trust me. On a side note, a benefit of attending this call is how inspired you're going to feel by all of the other CEOs and founders and business owners on the journey alongside you. Where else can you immerse yourself in a peer group of high-level company owners, super motivated to grow and learn as well? And we're going to literally begin raising your frequency from this very first kickoff call. We're also going to answer all of your questions, share all of the details to access your private Scale It Amplifier content portal. And this is where your weekly video training modules are going to live. Speaking of that, right after the kickoff call in week 1 of the program, we're going to dive right into learning about and identifying and beginning to put in place your ideal multiplier. And this will be your core focus for 12 weeks. Remember, a multiplier is a scalable business model that results in a revenue stream that significantly up-levels your cash flow. And there are many, but we're going to focus on the one multiplier for your unique business that will make the biggest difference. Now, again, this program is designed for a very busy business owner. We keep it simple. The program is 12 weeks with some breaks for the holidays, and at the start of each week, a new Scale It Method training module will be unlocked in your online content portal. Your job is to watch the training during that week, whenever it is convenient for you, and then implement the clear actions that go along with the training. You can take that action anytime after that week's module is released. Now, at the end of each week, Friday morning, you're going to get on a live personal group mentoring session from our hand-selected high-level CEO mentors that have all scaled very successful companies of their own. And we're going to work through that week's concepts, and we're going to talk about the actions associated with them. You can ask any questions you have as well. You'll get direct advice, and we'll make sure any and all obstacles are handled. You're never alone. We're always beside you as you go through the program and take action. Over the 12 weeks, we will mentor you to craft a customized scale blueprint for your unique business. This includes a complete strategic vision to scale your company. It also includes your Hire for Growth map that ensures you get a 3 to 10 times ROI on every role of the team on your org chart. You will also have a team-managed company plan so you can become operationally irrelevant and experience hands-off growth. Amazing. And we'll give you a clear execution plan with actionable steps for your team, a scalable model and integration to scale revenue. And again, our goal is to have you experience more growth in 12 weeks than in the entire last year, while creating more freedom than ever before. And we're literally setting the foundation for massive scale, increased freedom, and more joy and ease for years to come. And again, we will be beside you every step of the way as we get your business on a solid, stable, scalable foundation that can take you to new heights. Now, the investment to be mentored by me or any of my 40 plus highly experienced, highly trained, world-class CEO mentors for a 12-week period ranges from $50,000 to $100,000. And now the investment is worth every penny, as your return will be many, many times that. However, I wanted to make this next growth step super accessible for you. And that's why when you register today for the Scale It Amplifier exclusive 12-week program, your investment is only $19.97. So hit that register now button and secure your place in this high-level cohort. The most successful CEOs in the world trust their gut and act quickly. They don't hesitate. You're here, so I know you want and need the scale guidance. And I want to make this as easy as possible for you to wholeheartedly say yes to yourself. And that's why when you register today, I'm going to offer you a few extra incentives that are going to help support you and accelerate your scale journey. As you go through the program, you're likely going to have some questions about your unique application of the training, and you'll have a lot of live support with the Friday morning group Scale It sessions. Yet nothing beats one-on-one. It's one of the main reasons a lot of our business owners join our year-long Pinnacle Global Network program. for that face-to-face, one-on-one advisory. And I want you to experience the power of this and get your unique concerns handled as you go through the steps of the program. And that's why when you register today, you're going to receive a one-on-one scale session with one of our trusted CEO strategists. These sessions can be booked after week 3 of the program, and we want you to be oriented to the program, into action, to have chosen your multiplier and be on your way. So this is going to help you optimize your time with your one-on-one CEO strategist. Now, we've also talked throughout the Scale Accelerator series about the necessity of building a team-managed company. And in case you missed it, you must make sure that every single person you add to your team from now forward creates 3 to 10 times their monthly salary to your bottom line. And that's why when you register now, you're going to get our proprietary Hire for Growth training. This single training alone will help ensure every single hire you make returns 3 to 10 times their monthly salary to your bottom line. It's pre-recorded so you can have anyone who helps you with your hiring watch it so they get it. And this one training is going to save you so much time and energy and money as you build out your team. So register now to get that Hire for Growth bonus. Now, one of the main tasks that often eats up a ton of time for business owners, for CEOs and founders is their multiple inboxes. I get it. Email, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the list goes on, and it can feel never ending. Balls get dropped, important messages get missed, and you can't afford to have this happen. And that's why when you register for the Scale It Amplifier right now, I'm also going to gift you our email freedom system, how to confidently hand over your inbox management for enhanced productivity. Now, handing off this part of your daily task is so important, and this training will make it easy for you. In fact, you can have your executive assistant go through it and implement it immediately. I know that's hard to imagine, but just picture not having to worry about your inbox while you focus on this program. This changed my life. So finally, the Scale It Amplifier exclusive program extends for 12 full weeks. With time off for the holidays, you and your business will be in a totally different place by the end of the journey. And that's why you complete the program and catapult you into the best year ever in your business. You're also going to get to attend a live marketing makeover session led by Pinnacle Global Network's lead marketing strategist. Our lead strategist, Callan Rush, will spend 2 full hours with you and your marketing team, leveling up your marketing messages, your campaigns to reach and impact way more people with your business in this coming year. It's the perfect way to complete this powerful journey. And all you have to do is register by clicking the button on this page right now. You'll see a list of how the program works and everything you'll get when you register today. So check in with yourself, check in with your heart. I know it can feel overwhelming to add one more thing to your plate, yet if you keep going the way you have been, nothing's going to change. You have this one precious life. Let's get you growing your company in a way that gives you time and energy and money to really enjoy it. You can scale, and we can help. So join us now by clicking the button on this page, and you'll be so glad you did. I will see you soon.